Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you from a brisk, crisp and bright Harlow RUFC, where we're bringing you international deaf rugby all afternoon. 3 games in the offing for you, 2 women's sevens international fixtures are the bread with a men's international meat in the sandwich today. And England and Wales are the offering for you. And I'm joined by guests Luke Cheen, the injured England deaf captain, and Stasha Long, the director of rugby from Old Ruts, who are going to give us some expert opinion in the build-up to this historic day, because today is the first ever Northern Hemisphere international at female deaf level, and quite a prospect as well, Luke, because the England women won the World Deaf Sevens in 2018.
Yeah, absolutely. We went over to Sydney a couple of years ago, and the girls came away with the World Cup. So big one today, obviously with England and Wales. It's always been men's rugby that we've been playing. So to have a women's fixture is fantastic and a massive step forward for deaf rugby.
Yeah. So as the captain of England Deaf, talk to me about the progression of the game from the women's side. This is a really big moment to have it televised, but also to be having international fare up in the Northern Hemisphere and an old rivalry against Wales.
Huge, yeah. I think the game against Wales is something that the women have always been hoping to get in the future. So for it to be here today is fantastic. Up until this point, it's been very much a case of playing against local sides or club sides, which is fantastic. But this is a massive step forward in terms of the growth of deaf rugby internationally.
And Stasha, if I can bring you in, it's really a testament to where the women's game is going at the moment. Over December, we saw a bumper crowd at Twickenham for Harlequins against Leinster, which was so well attended, fabulous game, and then even more fair here today.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's great exposure for the girls. I think it's really important for the development of the women's game that they're seen on the same international standard as the men, and for the players themselves, it's important that they're afforded the same opportunities as the men, because they're playing such a good standard of rugby now. There's so many people that are interested in watching in the women's game, and we want to inspire the next generation to come out and play as well, and that's really important that they see this on the highest level as well.
Well, speaking of inspiring the next generation, now deaf rugby is our focus today, but I do want to talk about one female player for England Deaf who's not here today. It's Jody Ansley, because she is playing for England Sevens proper. She's gone on the plane at the end of last week and she's out in Hamilton to compete on the World Series. I mean, what an inspiration for young girls coming up through the game.
Yeah, absolutely. She played in Cape Town and in Dubai, and I just think it's so important that these players understand that disability shouldn't be a limitation to their kind of top level that they can play at. And I think if she can set the benchmark for that, I think others will just follow. And for me, it's about what they do on the pitch. It's not about any physical ability that might help them or hinder them in the game. I think it's just about their ability to play, and we watch such a good quality of standard rugby here that I think that's just so important to get that out there.
Well, look, you're a man who's played a number of deaf internationals. Can you tell me how big an achievement is that from Jody to make the leap from deaf rugby into full-blown international rugby and the obstacles that she would have overcome?
Yeah, huge. I mean, she's got quite a profound hearing loss, which is a huge achievement for her to be where she is anyway. But having watched Jody kind of grow throughout the years and play for England Deaf, I think it was always kind of written in the stars, perhaps, that she would go on to play for the full Sevens side or for the full England side. So we're delighted for her, and we're really, really proud that she's come through the pathway of England Deaf.
You mentioned the profundity of deafness there, because I'm sure we've got a lot of first-time viewers here of deaf rugby, and I'd love to unpick a few things about the sport. How profoundly deaf do you have to be be eligible for deaf rugby? Yeah,
I mean, the regulations are changing somewhat with the World Deaf Union at the moment in terms of the level of deafness, and 40 decibels down towards kind of 20-25 decibels. But essentially, the beauty of England, or the beauty of deaf rugby, whether it's England, Wales, or any other nation, is that that's spread across. So you'll have some really profound players who struggle to hear anything, from players like myself potentially that rely only on one ear. But I think that's the beauty of it. In the same way of players having different levels of ability, different levels of hearing loss as well is great.
Well, it begs the question, Luke. Now, I'm a teacher in the week. Stash, you're a teacher also. And when we're coaching our kids, all we say to them, communication. Communication's the answer to every question a coach asks you. How does that work out there on the field?
I think you just rely a lot more on your visual communication. Knowing your teammates is huge. Knowing their level of deafness and kind of uses of, like I say, visual communications, hand signals, and often sometimes physically grabbing your teammate to put them where you want them to be. But in order to play an international match for England or for Wales, you're going to be of a decent standard anyway. So your game knowledge, your game understanding will be at a level whereby you won't necessarily need to rely on your hearing as much as perhaps otherwise.
What is the level of some of the players who we're going to see out on the field today? Because I saw Ken Dowding on the bench for Wales today, and he's played Premiership, he's played for the Army, he's just been in the Combined Services World Cup in Japan, and plays for Richmond in National One now. So some good players out there. Yeah,
Ken's a great player, and I think he'll provide Wales some real good impact off the bench. Another guy to keep on from our side, keep an eye out for is Dave Martins, playing for Huddersfield, up in Nat 2, I believe, as well. So some fantastic players across the leagues.
So that's a taste of some of the action that's going to be coming to you down the tube today. The men's game is going to follow this first historic Women's International Sevens fixture. You can hear the anthems in the background. God Save the Queen ringing through Harlow, which means it's time to throw to Jack Zorab in commentary, and he's going to guide you through this one.
So here we go, everybody, a piece of history about to be made here at Harlow Rugby Club, England against Wales, for the first ever time in a women's international, a women's deaf international in the Northern Hemisphere. Perfect stage for it. We have the same cast lining up, a slight tweak, and it's myself, it's Joe, it's Luke Cheen, I apologise, and Stasia Long as well alongside me. So welcome to the gantry, everybody. Excitement brimming here. So Wales playing in their black and green jerseys, playing right to left. Here we go then. Little fumble, an auspicious start, let's say, for England, but a good bit of ground for Wales, and they will kick off with a first set piece from the line out on the 22. And the wind conditions, guys, they are actually picking up now, aren't they? And perhaps we can put that early mistake down to that.
Yeah, I think so. I think Jenny will be disappointed not to have taken that, but I suppose there's a few early nerves that we'll see hopefully dissipate as we get into this game.
So England in their 22, and we were speaking to some of the players earlier, and they were saying, "Well, it's a big old pitch, isn't it?" And they've made the most of here at Harlow, really stretching things out. It's going to be a lovely wide track for everyone to try and pull together. And England will get the ball back from here, just not quite the finesse at the set piece.
Just a little bit of confusion there from Wales coming in and receiving that ball from an offside position. So receiving it inside the 5-metre channel, but also joining the line out late. That's why they've conceded the penalty.
First touch for Michelle Holdsworth, and then plays scrum half as well. It's going to be Wales trying to scamper away. Penalty England, though, it was slowly building.
I think the big thing for both of these sides is to try and play this game as a sevens fixture, not as a 15-a-side fixture. If you look at kind of all of the players are well within the 15 there, so very, very narrow. So I think both sides will want to try and add some width.
Trying to stretch the green fabric early on, are England, and going round the outside. Good extra burst of pace, and it looks like Hanratty is going to be hauled down on Wales's 22. England and Wales in uncharted territory in the Northern Hemisphere, making a piece of history here at Harlow, contesting this Women's Deaf International. And Wales, well, trying to break out of their 22.
It's a great
getting back slowly, and I'm going to ask Luke Cheen for his thoughts very shortly on this start, but Wales with the ball and looking to work openings of their own. Numbers away onto the left. Just under the shadows of our gantry position here. Wales do get there, bringing it back. Up to the halfway line, but that's where the door gets firmly closed by Holdsworth. And England now turning it over. Looping it out, it could be nicely laid on a plate, but just knocking on in the process. And a few errors on both sides there, but Luke, first few minutes really of women's rugby, deaf rugby in the Northern Hemisphere, and England looking to go wide early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I say, we said in the build-up, I think there'll be a lot of nerves on both sides. So obviously a massive day for both sets or both teams. But as I said a minute ago, I think trying to get a bit of width in the game will be important. We've got some wheels out here. Sian Mills on the right wing, so I think if we can get the ball out to Sian early doors, she'll have a bit of space.
Every piece of play, the first time it's happening, every piece of play, a moment's history, and the first scrum. Resoundingly, confidently won by England. Wales looking to defend tight, put pressure on, and it has forced England to go boot to ball. Sliding down on it, go Wales, but England getting away. Hanratty looking to wait for support, and it's hacked on again. England could be in for the first try. Superb footballing skills, then the placement. England get over here at Harlow early on, and it was one way or the other. They eventually got over the line. Try from Sian Mills.
Yeah, great bit of footballing skills from Sian there. Wasn't sure if she was going to make it all the way, but thankfully she was able to put the ball down over the try line.
Well, 1, 2, 3 bits of footballing skill to help her on the way. And striking the post on the conversion. So 5 points to 0. England lead Wales.
It's also worth noting Bex Francis has come onto the pitch as well. Yeah, it's a great bit of footballing work from Sian there, and she manages to get it over the line. Just about. She'll be really proud of that. And so will her mum, actually, who's Gloria, who's part of the setup as well.
It's actually an outstanding piece of footballing skill, Stasha.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I'd just like to see Wales working a little bit harder off the ball. They seem to be waiting for something to happen, and I'd just like to see them reacting a little bit quicker. So we saw a ruck near the halfway line earlier on where they've looking at trying to just have one person coming into the ruck, but as soon as you feel that counter ruck coming on, your most important priority is to secure the ball, and I think I'd have liked to have seen a second player coming in there to prevent that easy turnover, which ultimately then led to the try.
So England with that settling score perhaps, and the try scorer Mills. Ball has deemed to go backwards from our referee Catherine Ritchie for this game. Wales now making the break. The long strides of Karis Wilkinson taking Wales into the 22. England's quick, alive to the alert, but Wales will look to make it profit, and they get the penalty. Wonderful break from Wilkinson.
Yeah, it was a great cover tackle from Steph Hanratty. She had to work really hard to get back then. She did really well not to give away a penalty for a high tackle. Then it's always the difficulty when you're chasing somebody and making that rear tackle, but unfortunately gave away the penalty soon after for coming in from the side.
Worked along the line. It's now Kim Baylor just going to roll agonisingly away, and we are back in the position we were right at the start of the half. England throw in again, and England perhaps, Luke, let off a little bit there.
I think so, yeah. It was a great break by the Welsh player, but as Stasha said, fantastic covering tackle by Steph. Similar position to where we were before, so hopefully from an English perspective we can get back up the other side of the pitch and start putting Wales under a bit more pressure.
Thoughts here in Harlow of England deaf rugby captain Luke Cheen, injured today for the Amplifon International Series match, lending his thoughts to us here on the sidelines. Good off the top work from England. Set piece looking much smoother now. And that point, of course, just breaks down in the middle.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. They would have been pleased with that set piece. I think they executed that well. Just some of those passes just dropping away a little bit, not quite going to hand. And I think when that happens, I think England will start to look dangerous. If we go back to the previous attack from Wales, I thought that it was a really good counter because they spotted a mismatch in the English defence. And although they were set up well, there was just a mismatch, and that allowed Wales to make that breakthrough.
Wonderful pictures that we're getting here from Harlow Rugby Club. Plenty of people involved in bringing this production alive, and Amplifon, the International Series, making this happen, and Wales trying to make something happen to get back into this one. Just dropping down. It was one of those ones that makes you recall because it was so close. Now, perhaps the chance via Route 1. Work back again, and there's no real space between the white shirts. Wales still have it though. Great field position here, looking to score before a half-time. England 1 try up. Just worked along the line and trying to escape the clutches. It's England's try scorer, Sian Mills, who is shutting that one down. Wales keep coming though, and here perhaps the chance. 3 metres away. Then Picton goes over the line. Wales get back on level terms. Kristen Field, I think, getting over. Well, they just kept going, kept trusting their luck, and then the gap opened up. England cut apart through that slow precision of Wales.
Yeah, Wales's ball retention was good in those last few phases. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more depth in their attack. So a really good thing to note for young players is obviously in sevens, you just want that little bit more time on the ball because you don't necessarily have as many support players around you. So if Wales could get a little bit more depth in attack, I think they'd find those passes a little bit easier. England defending really well and getting good line speed, but I think they'll struggle to maintain that structure if Wales are able to get a little bit more depth in attack.
Lovely try as the half rounds out, 5 points apiece. Kirsten Field with the try, but that run by Anwyn Hopkins in the shock of pink and red hair, that was quite something.
I think England would be quite disappointed with that. We spoke about how narrow they were defending and how narrow actually Wales were attacking, and it was actually there, going through the middle straight through Route 1 that made Wales profit. So I think I'm sure the conversation now with Ben, the England coach, will be just making sure we tighten up that defence.
Yeah, short turnaround time in sevens, isn't it? And Luke, England, of course, lost to Wales in the men's sevens World Championships in 2018. Sorry to bring that up, you've got a smile on your face already. But it's no doubting the nation's talent in that regard, and to be world champions in the men's, your reflections on the culture of Wales sevens and what they did to England almost 16 months ago or so in that competition in Sydney.
Yeah, it was from our perspective agonisingly close. Really disappointed, but Wales certainly deserved their win. I think one of the big things that Wales, certainly the women now, as we see them talking for their half-time team talks, will be RJ Coles, their coach, who's been obviously a massive part of the growth of the Welsh women's team. But yeah, and I think that both the men and the women, from a Welsh perspective, deserve a lot of credit. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this second half pans out. No more spoken about that final, please.
I can't promise. I can't promise that. Stasha, in terms of what you saw in the first half and the way which both the teams were playing, what will it take for either team to come out on the top in the first historic women's international death match in the Northern Hemisphere?
I think it's really important to remember that sevens is such a different game to 15s. I felt like the first few minutes of that game was very dominated by 15 style play, and I think once the teams realise actually there's twice as much space in sevens as there is 15s, and if they can get that ball into space, and more importantly if they can keep the ball away from contact. Luke just touched on how Wales were going Route 1 and they were taking the ball into contact almost first phase. For me, the more you can keep the ball away from contact, the more opportunities you've got to score. So I'd like to see that ball being moved around a little bit more. If we get the depth in attack, then you're under less pressure from the defence, and that allows you to find the space a little bit easier. And I think England look like they've got some gas out there, so it'll be interesting to see if they can do more of that in the second half.
Sian Mills kicks England off. England's try scorer, of course. Fabulous piece of skill that she put together, but how about this for pace and for directness from Wales's try scorer. Kirsten Field offloads to Sarah Rudd, who's following up well. Wales right back at the races at the start of the second period. Drive on is from Harper, Sarah Harper. Both sides making a few changes to their lineups, and Field still on, and she has lit up Wales's performance starting this second half so well. It's just going to be not held from Anwen Hopkins. England with a chance then. What a moment in this match, and what a way to start the second period. They have to come down. There were a few errors at the start of that first half, weren't there? A few nerves perhaps, but everyone is up and running now. What a break from Kristen Field.
Yeah, some great gas and some fantastic support as well on our outside. I think, again, as we've mentioned in the first half and certainly at half time, I think if both teams can kind of open the game out, add a little bit of width to their game, we'll see a lot more of that.
Well, these are the kind of field positions in sevens where it's so exciting to see what happens. Bang in the centre. So many types of set plays you could run. So many opportunities if you just want to wing it and see back one of your individual talents.
Yeah, you're right smack in the middle of the pitch here, so with a mismatch of numbers on either side, it's really key that the attack can just outwit the opponent, outwit the defence, and using the scrum halves is really key because often the ball doesn't stay in the scrum very long, so you get an attacking advantage there by getting your scrum half to come into your attacking line.
It was advantage England at the scrum in the first half, most definitely advantage Wales now, muscling a penalty. Harper goes straight, sees the gap. Sarah Harper hauled down in the end. A few more yards eked out. Wales looking for the second score. The go-ahead try may be coming here. It's Rowlands. England get their hands on it. How important was that intervention? They're going to look to play out from here. Welsh big hits. So to spacing behind England go. Wales live to that. Great period of possession this for the Welsh. Tackling from England came in from Jenny Kingham. Now Wales go again, and it's Harper who's finding Rudd. Oh, Wales asking every type of question of England's defence. Anwen Hopkins has asked questions before, and she's going to go forward to try and find her teammate. That's Priest, who is in the number 7 jersey for Wales. England having to fight so hard to try and contest the ball on the ground, because when Wales have it in their hands, yeah, they're causing problems.
Yeah, it's been a little bit scrappy. Again, coming back to the Welsh players trying to use that width a little bit more. England at one stage had all of their players just outside either side of the post, and if that ball had gone wide, I think they would have been caught, but they'll be really pleased with their individual tackling efforts. They've made some great territorial tackles, but they've also made some great individual tackles where they've made the last-ditch tackle, otherwise it would have been a try. So I think individually they'll be pleased, but they've not really been challenged out wide yet, which has helped them to put the pressure on Wales.
Yeah, I think Wales have had a lot of the ball so far as well. It's a great field position for the Welsh girls, and I think England will be wanting to try, and if they're not going to put boot to ball, if they can get up the other side of the pitch, because it's certainly a big old pitch here at Harlow, and sevens is a tiring game as it is. So the last thing we want to be doing is, from a personal opinion as well, myself, maybe being a lazy back rower. The last thing you want to be doing is running the length.
Well, England 85 metres out, but in space, and Wales will be live to the threat here. Again, it's Mills who has put in 50 metres or so run, but ushered well by Wales out into touch, and the Welsh will go as quickly as they can. It's too quick for England. A high tackle coming in. Catherine Ritchie, our referee today, live to that one, and Wales again. Well, they have taken this to England, and they are very much the side deserving of the next points. Doesn't go like that though and they know they have to capitalise.
It was an outstanding bit of play from Stefan Ratti inside England's 22 to suck in both of those Welsh defenders that were out on the right-hand side, and that was what allowed England to make that break up this left-hand touchline. Really important there to try and draw in as many defenders as you can and then keep that ball alive, and she did that so well.
We see Molly Hussle enter the game as well there, so she was part of that winning England deaf side over in Australia, and certainly will be dangerous ball in hand.
Yeah, very good point to mention that whilst it was the men who won the male competition, it was England women who won that female equivalent over in Australia. Real fine moment for the sport of deaf rugby. And that is very much the intention, to grow the game to be equivalent to the men's deaf initiatives that are going on, and that is why we're all here today in Harlow, and Wales just keeping the ball alive well, not panicking. Tidy up there was from Courtney Greenway. Really comfortable with ball in hand. And Sarah Rudd looks to be a very, very lively player. Wherever she picks up the ball is Rowlands. England, though, organised as they march Wales back. And that's Karis Wilkinson again. Such a rangy stride which she has. England do slap the chains on in the end, but bursting through the middle again. Harper is away. Can she be stopped? The chase back is on. It's Sian Mills who's going to go. It's Harper who's going to get that. Under the sticks, and Wales have been knocking on the door, and eventually they knock it down. What England players just left in the wake of Sarah Harper. What a break through the middle.
That's exactly what you want when you spot a gap around the fringes. England just switched off slightly in that they didn't have a guard in place. They spotted the mismatch, and Sarah Harper does so well there to go half the length of the pitch and finish off what was an excellent try for Wales, and a deserved try after such a long period of retained possession there. Even though they were going backwards for quite a long period of that second half, the England defence putting them under real pressure, they were able to get that try at the end.
And with that moment, the last play of the game, so Wales 12 points to 5 victors against England in the first women's deaf international in the Northern Hemisphere. Well, congratulations to both sets of players. Really thrilling game for us to watch here in Harlow. It's the reflections of Luke Cheen, which I'd like to ask for next.
Yeah, we've got obviously a second instalment, England deaf women against Wales deaf women after the men's fixture. So I think Wales deserved winners in that game. I think England will probably lick their wounds a little bit, speak about their defence around the fringes of the breakdown, as Stasia mentioned. But no, a really exciting first ever Northern Hemisphere Women's Deaf International.
Well, our coverage here in Harlow will continue. It's up next. It's going to be the Amplifon International Series. It's men's 15-a-side. England deaf against Wales deaf, and as Luke Cheen says, it was a lovely preamble to this, but we're going to have the second instalment after the match. So if it's England deaf against Wales deaf women that you're interested in, stay with us throughout the course of the afternoon, because there'll be a second match on a little bit later. But our build-up will continue to the men's 15-a-side competition coming up very shortly.
Can be cruel, but surely the cruelest mistress of them all is the game of sevens. England in the fight for 13.5 minutes, but Wales breaking their hearts at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sian Mills could have done with an extra 10 metres or so to catch the Welsh player then, but no, I think Wales deserved winners of that one. But no, certainly an exciting prospect for the second game after the men's fixture.
And what a way to set the tone as well for the day ahead, our international deaf offering. No shortage of skill, commitment and some titanic defence there from England as well to repel Wales, who eventually broke through.
Yeah, I think what's most exciting for me about the second instalment of this is that both teams will now have a chance to go and reflect on what they've done. And with just a few changes, I think both of them could really pick apart their opposition teams. So I think if they do a bit of self-reflection and decide what went well, what could we do a little bit better, I think they could be a really exciting game in store for us in the second instalment.
Well, so 80 minutes of reflection the girls have, because now the men are beginning to take the field, because it is the Broad Street Cup, the first fixture of the season. Now, 2 fixtures were played last year, one in Cardiff and one at Sale FC. And the Broad Street Cup is currently, well, certainly for the next minute or so, in the hands of the English. Let's take a look at the highlights from that game at Sale last year.
So Roberts keeps everyone patiently waiting as he does open the scoring for the visitors. He's going to try and level up the scores here. Well, he does so. Cheers and raptures from the crowd. It's probably the loudest they've been so far today. Penalty from Mike Roberts. So just does 6-3 to Wales once again. London again looking for that killer pass. Weeble.
Must have them.
Fantastic for England, finally.
Nice try.
All the effort pay, all the hard work, and you can just see how much it means to them. You can tell that eventually something had to go right. And it's Jake Huggett with a lovely little celebration here as England know they have that advantage.
There's a stat. Oh, good offload.
Involved once again. Fantastic offload.
There you go.
It's a second try for England. And you said that this could mean that they're out of sight of Wales. We'll wait and see, but Wales find something.
Show some composure. Someone in. Surely one or two.
Surely over the line for England. It's Tom Walker this time. And you said it was coming. And now, surely. So England with Henry Puigbol. Oh, and that erroneous pass goes astray right at the end here. And Wales want to break straight away. Kick forward, the chase is on.
It's going to run dead. No, that should be that.
What a game he's had, Craig Orrick, and what an overall performance from this England side, beaten by Wales a few months ago, but this time the men in white absolutely and handsomely convincing. Great play by Henry Puigbol, who showed creativity and agility throughout. Fantastic pace as well, but we know that this England against Wales rivalry was one that really whets the appetite for the players, those spectating, and I'm sure you were watching as well, and it really delivered.
So highlights there of the 22-6 victory at Sale Rugby Club last season, and the man who masterminded it was the man of the match, Henry Puigbol, playing 10 today, and a man you know well, coaching him for a couple of years at Old Ruts.
Yeah, Henry's a really talented sportsman. He came to us from ice hockey, so he hadn't played anything other than touch rugby before, and we got him straight involved into our men's senior programme. He played a number of positions for us across the back line. Really talented footballer, and he's got great feet on him, he's got great skill set, and he'll be pulling the strings today, I'm sure.
Pulling the strings indeed. Coming from ice hockey, what a fascinating story. So how did you pick him up?
He plays, so we're an association at Old Ruts. We've got rugby, football and cricket, and he'd been playing cricket at Old Ruts and just came over to us one day and said, oh, I've been playing a bit of touch and could I get involved? And yeah, got himself straight into the first team and played for a few seasons for us.
What a transition success story. But we must talk about the opposition today, because Wales are no pushovers. As you well know, they were victorious in Cardiff last year, so one win apiece last year. who should we be watching out for today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a tough fixture against Wales. I think one of the players that they will, or our boys will have to keep an eye on is Dan Vella at hooker. Carries really well and often kind of tops the carrying stats as well. So yeah, I think him and also captain John Cood, who's been around for a long time, nearly as long as I have. So I mean, he and I have had some great battles down the years playing in the row today. So yeah, keep an eye on those guys for sure.
Now, rugby's an emotional game. It's emotionally driven and charged at all times, and none more so than singing the national anthems. There's a new captain for England today.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously disappointed not to be involved, but really delighted for Danny Rowland, who's been the vice-captain now for a couple of years. Obviously led the team out today. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how he goes. He's a leader anyway, no matter whether he's got the armband or not. So, yeah, we're just really proud of him today.
Excellent stuff. Right, well, the conditions are cold enough to warrant 3 coats, but also sunny enough that I've got a set of shades in my pocket. And as you've seen from the Sevens game previously, the track that Harlow have prepared is superb. So strap yourselves in for a game of glorious running rugby that is going to be guided by Jack Zorab on the mic.
Well, thank you, Joe. And good afternoon, everybody. The start of the Amplifon International Series then between England and Wales. A piece of history earlier with the women's fixture. There is a bite in the air ahead of the men's game, as there always will be between England and Wales. We have the two nations widely regarded as the top 2 worldwide in deaf rugby competing today. Well, wherever you're watching from, we're delighted to have your company. We're across the BBC Online, England Rugby channels as well, and worldwide audience for these two top nations in deaf rugby. Poised to be underway, our referee for the afternoon is Neil Sweeney, and Wales kick us off then. And it is Kieran Price with a enormous boot downfield, trying to find his opposite number, Henry Pubel, and no doubt those two will be jousting all afternoon. England with a first penalty. Our referee Neil Sweeney just clear on how those things will be judged today. No any extra allowance given. Henry Pubel, chance to clear his lines, and for a player of great importance to England, not his best start.
We'll push that away quite quickly and get over that onto the next job. Obviously, like you say, Jackie would have preferred that to have obviously gone a lot further and hit touch, but no doubt Henry will bounce back from that pretty quickly.
The voice there of England captain Luke Cheen, unable to play this afternoon. We're benefiting from his insights alongside Stasher Long. And Stasher, first scrum. Here we go, England-Wales. England, we know, picked a team to try and deliver that muscle, to try and get over the vantage line, win the collisions. Wales have picked a team to match them, to stop that. RJ Cole's their coach, very clear on that this week. They will be looking to shut down England's physicality and then give it back with a little bit extra. Well, Joe talks us through the recent history of this fixture, and has been very tight throughout the years. Wales with a period of dominance, 7 wins in a row in the middle of the last decade. England in recent times have had a little bit of an edge. They're winning that last one in Sale. Wales having won back in the Cardiff Arms Park. First chance for points. So Kieran Price, important man today. There's a passion actually for snooker and darts, and we'll see how his accuracy is from the tee early on.
Yeah, England just giving away a penalty there for a high tackle in a really key area of the pitch, and Wales will be trying to settle some nerves now by putting points on the board. But some steady possession from them early on. A little bit one out in terms of just they've not really tested England's defence out wide yet, but that's something that teams quite often do in the early stages of the game, just to try and settle those nerves, just to keep a little bit of possession. England will be averagely pleased with the start to this game, I think.
And they are going to escape without 3 points against their name. Kieran Price just erring from the tee early on. And Luke, at this point in an international, England-Wales, what are your thoughts as captain? How does it feel to be 2 minutes in and to a full-blooded test?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think the build-up to the game is always the worst in terms of from a nerves perspective. No matter how many times you play, you're waiting for that whistle to go. At this point, it's just game on. We're ready for that first contact, and we want to be playing in the right areas of the pitch. So obviously England will be looking to, if we're not exiting now, we'll potentially look to go wide, and we'll see how we get on. Maybe not. It's a Wales ball.
It's the second set piece and the line out. Full line. Dan Venner throws in one of the hugely important players in Wales' pack, and he finds his man early on. Price takes things up, lofts it into the air. Well taken back in by Gadden Jones. Sean Thomas. The Betas scrum half gets Wales running into England shirts with venom.
No clear
and they'll work another penalty.
Five.
It is Welsh precision
No clear
in these early exchanges.
Yeah, England's ill discipline at this stage could be costly to them. They're just allowing Wales to stay in their half. Once from a high tackle, once from not releasing. Those are sloppy errors.
And England let off. Taken in by Ash Phillips on his debut for England. Ash Phillips today.
Step.
Big day for that man. Danny Rowland, number 9 for England, captaining the side.
Tackle! Red away!
Henry Kruble calling for the ball quick there. England will get the put into this scrum.
I think England were unlucky there not to get the penalty for Wales not rolling away at that tackle. They'll be disappointed because that would have been an opportunity for them to clear their lines, which I think was what Henry was trying to do on that next phase. They were just trying to build a bit of territory and a bit of space for Henry to be able to clear, and yeah, just unfortunate not to get the penalty.
Big day for Pete Day, wearing number 6, his England debut. He's been around England for a little while now, so this will be the first time we'll be able to don that shirt, and expect some big carries in attack and some certainly big hits in defence from Pete.
One of 6 new caps in the England ranks is Pete Day. Wales with 10 new faces in the side, cutting their teeth, especially in the backs. Just 2 players returning from previous campaigns for Wales in the back. So RJ Coles, Wales' coach, has given them a bit of licence to try and find their feet and do what comes naturally to them.
You saw Dan Bella there in the Wales huddle. We spoke about him before the game. He'll be key to Wales' game today. Fantastic experience. So I think Wales will be pinning a lot of hopes onto Dan's shoulders for today's fixture.
And look, from positions such as this, at this point as a test match, it's a good field position in terms of space on the outside, but what will be the orders?
Get rid. Stick it down the pitch. Obviously, Henry's got a great boot on him, and trust our outside back. So we never know what might happen here. But I think from a forwards perspective, let's get into the right areas of the pitch.
So England captain Luke Sheen, thoughts there. Those were the orders. England running it. Pupil. Gap opening up for the fly half and 8 up the meters. Rowland asks for a few white shirts to carry it forward. Taking Wales on physically. This we expect to be the order of the day in these opening exchanges. The big pieces in either side taking each other on. Bristling run. Scott Turner, I think that was, really taking to international rugby, one of the debutants for England. And there goes Rhys Bingham. Pupil again. There's a few holes opening up. Dave Martin in the 12 jersey for England. Pupil again. Just comes back on the English side, but only after a small knock on. Ambition and excitement from England.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think this early in the game, though, potentially we want to be playing in the right areas of the pitch. I love the enthusiasm of Henry, and keep an eye out for the centre partnership for England, Dave Martin and Rory Fisher. But I think from a forwards perspective, after grafting in that scrum and taking a number of those short balls off 9, I think we want to be getting up the pitch a little bit more.
Upshot is a very inviting position for Wales. Just out of shot, Kieran Price has got options with his fullback Jamie Tudor on his inside. And here Wales go. It's a young back line looking to test itself at this level, and Price is looking to test England physically. Big barrelling run from Wales' number 10. And the knock-on comes. Wales can't be able to run it, but a warning shot of heavy proportions from Kieran Price at number 10.
Yeah, he's going to be hard to stop. I think the key thing is just to go low on him and stop him from getting those metres. And also, if he decides to go, at least England know then that that ball's not going wide. So I'm not expecting Wales to do that every time, because I think it will just be quite predictable for the England defence. But yeah, interesting to see them just mixing it up a little bit. England will just, as Luke said, want to get out of this half because they have been camped here for the majority of the game, and it can be soul destroying at this stage of a game to be, and energy sapping to be defending for this long.
Wales get the nudge on and they get the ball back as well. Stolen from the feet, Wales looking to go away.
Back.
Jack Priest. Thomas looks for his hooker, Dan Vella. Knows what it's like to score tries in this fixture. Scored a brace 4 or 5 years or so ago to win the day for Wales. Here come Wales, round the corner. Space opening up, and the tackling is good from Jacob Unwin. Really organised beginning this from both teams in attack.
Leave it now, White, leave it. Leave it, ball is there. Away, out the way.
Slow ball for Wales. So it's taken on by John Cudd, captain for Wales today. Now this is Sam Gallagher, the vice-captain, the Dunvant player.
Not now, White, 13, out. It's your man.
Thomas again, and then Vella again. Going high and wrestling to way forward. Danny Rowland is doing his best to stop him. Good yards made. Thomas and Kieran Price, Wales' fly half, just allowing different faces to pop up in the 10 channel. Keep things interesting. Now he goes for a drop goal from 25 metres out. Just missing. An interesting option from Kieran Price. He's not a man who is going to be able to be predicted this afternoon.
No, a bit of a strange decision there, because we're yet to see that ball go down the Welsh attacking line, and I'd love to see that just from a game perspective, to see how the England defence react and to see what the Welsh backs look like. I just feel like we haven't really seen them in action yet, even though they've had the majority of the possession and they've been camped in England's half. I would have liked to have seen them try to put England under a little bit more pressure, whereas now they've almost given them an easy option to clear their lines and take the bit of pressure off themselves.
Maybe poured back on because Pewell hasn't found touch. Vella has it and gets the step going. Sean Thomas at number 9 having a nice ride at the moment from his pack. Here goes Ryan Shalish, Dennis Powys player. So many of these players on the pitch regularly turning out for their club across Wales, across England. Means a lot of miles in the tank for both coaches to keep track of them. And this is why, to play international rugby at this level, and Price is taking England on again physically.
No. Step, please, White.
Frightening prospect when he gets the ball, and Wales go away here, bursting through the middle.
Back. No
Tackling was good. It's going to come back on England's side. Taylor Morris. England still have it. Break through the middle, though. England caught not on the alert. Pupil. Worked along the line. Wales' defence is good. Spinning out of that tackle was Rory Fisher. Rowland. There's certainly no question of panic in England's ranks. Time with ball in hand is what they're after.
Leave it.
10 minutes played here in Harlow, and if you're just joining us on the BBC or on England Rugby's channels, it has been mostly Wales pressure, and England do in the end relieve it.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, great bit of defensive work there by fullback Tom Fisher. No more for his offensive exploits than potentially his defence, but managed to force a turnover there. And as you said, I think it's important now that England maybe take this couple of seconds to figure out what we're doing and try and again play in the right areas of the pitch. I don't think we've played once yet in the Welsh half yet. Some fantastic breaks again, as we mentioned, by Dan Vella, the Welsh hooker. But yeah, I think this is going to be an important kind of 10 minutes coming up for the game.
In terms of the recent history between these two sides, it was England who last lifted the Broad Street Cup. That was in April last year at Hayward Road in Sale. England winning 22-6 that day. Earlier in the year, 12 months or so ago, it was Wales who won at the Cardiff Arms Park, 29-11. And Luke Sheen alongside me, just wincing slightly at that victory. It was a tough old day in the saddle down at the Arms Park, as it always is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough old day all the time against Wales, and I think that's a testament to where both nations are at the moment in terms of how close we are. As you mentioned there, we were in the last fixture in April. Wales beat us down in Cardiff in January. So this is an important game for both sides today, and I think the victory will probably push both sides towards the return fixture in March.
And one of the busiest years in the calendar in recent history for England Def certainly, and Wales also looking to add fixtures to their calendar, but there is a tour to South Africa no less looming on the horizon for your boys, Luke.
I'm excited to get my invitation to do the analysis at that.
Yes, that would be nice. 3 test tour of South Africa coming up for England, and Wales looking to play the likes of Ghana potentially, and Norway a return fixture. Really is going places, Def Rugby. And these two sides have really been carrying the flag in recent years. Unsurprisingly, they're meeting each other head on, still 0-0.
Great defensive pressure there by Rory Fisher. He might be small in stature, and he probably won't thank me for saying that after the game, but you can certainly rely on him to make his tackles at 13.
For me, the key thing there was just that they were making those tackles in front of the gain line, so they were preventing Wales from being able to gain any territory with that, because they were just getting off the line well. They were reading where that next pass was going to go, and then they were chopping at source, so preventing that ball getting in behind the defence, and that was really key then to winning that ball back.
Crouch!
England set up quite narrow here.
Set!
Control at the back is good from Ligo, and Rowland gets it away. Pupil on the front foot, switching in midfield, and Fisher this time on the attack. Advantage coming from clean set-piece work from England. Corey Beck a little behind the gain line, so England go back for the penalty. And look, presumably the kind of set piece that, as a open side flanker, really makes you smile.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
From an execution point of view, at that last penalty, at that last scrum, I would have liked to have seen England just widening the Wales defence, because I think if they knew that that switch ball was coming, I think it would have been better for them to have had some bigger gaps in the Welsh defence. And I think by setting up quite narrow, they allowed the Welsh to have quite a few bodies in that area, and I think if they'd stuck another couple of players out wide, I think they might have found a gap, and that move could have been really quite beneficial for them.
So England clean with the line out. Rowland fires it back into midfield, and Pete Day on his debut. Rowland again, looking to take Wales on. He causes a little bit of pause for thoughts and then finds players around him. Taylor Morris, and Morris goes through, galloping onto the 22. Support is short, and then the gap is opening up. England stretching Wales for the first time. Ash Phillips carried the ball forward. Looped out onto the edge, shrugging players off. England's loose head, Scott Turner. Show of strength from Turner. 6 metres away from Wales's line are England. Rowland. First time which England are baring their teeth in the Amplifon International Series. Pupil spots the gap and then tries to dance his way through. England's forwards get the ball back, and again they come forward again. Reece Bingham it was. Scott Turner and the prop. Tight head prop. Corey Beck also in support. England's front row being put to work in this attack. Now the pick and goes from close in. Pupil and his backs on the short side. But the order is with those in the larger jerseys. 5 metres away still England. Wales's defence is resolute. Juggle and then taken forward.
High tackle on Rory Fisher there. And he's a yellow.
So Neil Sweeney straight to his pocket. Yellow card, Wales down to 14.
Some great sustained pressure there from England. A lot of work for the forwards. I think that's another time you'd be looking at your 9 and looking at your 10, saying any chance of a bit of help from you backs. But yeah, we're in a good field position here, and hopefully we can make it count. Be interesting to see what decision Danny goes now, whether we go for the points, whether we go for the scrum, or whether we stick it in the corner.
Yeah, for me, I think the key part to England's recent attack then, and the reason they were able to get so much territory from it, was just the speed at which they were recycling the ball. Wales were not able to get players organised, there were mismatches, and the English players were able to just get that ball back out into play again, because they were committing maybe 1 or 2 players and then that ball was available. So that really quick support play bought them so much time on the ball, and it just allowed them to capitalise on a Welsh defence that probably weren't as organised as they would have liked, and if it had taken longer to get that ball out the back of the ruck. So the more England can do that, I think the more dangerous they're going to look, because they're happy. They seem happy to move that ball wide and stretch the Welsh defence.
I'd keep an eye on Henry at 10 and Dave Martin at 12 here for England. Can sense something brewing.
Bind. Set.
Most advanced position for England which we've had in this game. Rowland, the captain, to Pupil, who again takes it to the line. Martin pops up, rolling round the outside. Wales do throw numbers in the way.
12 out.
Ball is of a slow nature for England. Wales doing their best to disrupt on the floor. So England's Reece Bingham. She cuts back inside and tries to look after it, but Wales have scrambled well. They've got it back on their side. Penalty as well. Strong defence after a promising opening attack from England.
Yeah, agreed. England would be disappointed with that, but I think Wales will be quite relieved. Still quite even, I suppose, after 20 minutes of the game. Be interesting to see what happens here in the next few phases.
So Kieran Price has just about found touch, and Wales will have a line-out on their own 10-metre line.
I think it's obviously worth noting as well, fixtures gone by. I think if there's one thing that England we've let ourselves down with, it's our penalty count. Already we've had a couple of penalties against us in this first half, so I think we're going to need to remain a little bit more disciplined and try and keep that penalty count down.
White on the line, please.
Worth noting that Wales's man who was sent off, John Cudd, their captain, one of their stalwarts in the team. He will be missed for the next 8 minutes or so. Line out is to the back, and the number 24, Andrew Healy. England try to pile through. Vela is the go-to option. So strong.
Tackle!
Iron vice-like grip around that ball. England get the penalty on the floor. Now, is this kickable for the first points of the afternoon?
Great bit of work for Henry Ligo there, number 8 over the ball.
Danny, got a lot of players talking to me. Please.
I think they'll look to go to touch here.
It's quite interesting to see two quite differing styles of support play, in that England really quick to the contact area and able to get a man over the ball.
Bouncing around, it's going to come back on England's side. Assistant referee's flag was raised.
Welsh winger tried to catch that with his face there. It's probably not the best. I know, Stasha, you probably know a little bit more about coaching than I, but I don't think you'd be recommending that as a way to catch the ball.
No, it's quite difficult. It is bright out there, and I think he was just very aware of the England winger, who was just bearing down on him and putting him under pressure. But yeah, he'll be disappointed with that mistake, and I think the only saving grace, I think the only thing that saved him there, I think his foot was in touch anyway, so I think even if he'd caught it, I think he probably would have still conceded that possession.
In the line. Yeah.
It's worked out very well for England with Reece Bingham.
Get in front of him. Get in front of him.
5-man line out. Movement around is enough to secure the ball. And then the likes of Ligo will join in at the back. England mauling their way forward against Wales. Still 0-0 here at Harlow Rugby Club in the Broad Street Cup. International Deaf Rugby on the BBC. And England go round the corner. Powerful run again from Morris. Rolling close to the line. Up to the backs. Pubel spots the gap. Shut very quickly by Ryan Shalish. Rowland is asking for the ball. England will ask and get a penalty.
I think our outside backs will be a little bit frustrated with Henry there. I think we have men over on the right-hand side. Yeah, I think potentially if we can move that ball 1 or 2 passes away from contact a little bit earlier, we might be in with a chance.
You could definitely see what Henry was thinking there, because the Welsh defence were drifting, but in that situation, when you've got 3 players who are unmarked in sort of 25 metres of space, for me that ball's got to go every time.
On the line.
So Danny Rowlands goes straight to touch. Strong position. It's a chance for England. Wales, after that period of 10 or 12 minutes of possession at the start of the half, they have been under pressure themselves. Can they hold out? England do take the ball down. Not the slickest of lineouts. And the body position's a little high from England, but the weight now comes on. The Wales take it away. The body positions worked to their advantage. And in tight quarters, that is exceptional defence.
You see the Welsh backs running into to give some pats on the backs to their forwards there. Good defensive set from the Welsh pack.
Sam, if there's a penalty or something, can your players leave the ball? Just leave it on the floor. Yeah, that's okay, no problem. That's the mark. Yeah.
Well, actually, Wales penalty, but just Neil Sweeney just making sure that Wales don't go too far.
Crouch! Bind! You two have pre-engaged. Yeah? Okay. Space, please.
Well, if Wales can hold this tight, it looks like Kieran Price is the man to go to boot them out of trouble here.
Bind!
Neil Sweeney's patience with England runs out. Free kick goes the way of Wales. And that ball is hammered all the way towards our position, and Luke Cheen almost gathers in with his one good arm.
Yeah, quite an interesting decision there from Wales. Obviously a free kick and not a penalty, so kicking straight to touch means England get the throw in at the line out, and they're still in a fairly good attacking position just outside the 22, so they'll be looking to play from here.
And that really, Luke, has worked out the better for England.
I've got one minute.
Yeah, Kieran Price hasn't got the length on it. I'm sure he would have liked. I think the angle probably made it quite difficult for him. But interesting to see what England will do now. The backs haven't had much of the ball. It's been all forward so far. So I think if we can get the ball out to Dave Martin, Rory Fisher and also Tom Walker from full-back, they can provide some dangerous play.
England shaping to go wide, but not getting the line straight from Rhys Bingham.
Option. Scrum or line out? You're inside.
This, of course, is the venue for.
Scrum.
This, of course, is the venue for the second test against New Zealand a couple of years ago, where Tom Walker, who's playing 15 today, he's playing outside centre that game, scored from pretty much his own half in the comeback win.
Space, and then on set, it's balance. Yeah. Crouch! Bind! Set!
So Wales squeeze, but it's England who get a slight edge on. And Rowland has snaffled it. He's popped it onto his back row, and England are on the charge again. Pete Day following up well. Rowland now gets it on to Phillips, who's had to be very busy down that left wing. Most of the action taking place in these quarters. Rowland won't get the ball. England will have a penalty. And that is the first time that Neil Sweeney's patience has really run out. It's the second yellow card. It is going to be for number 24, Andrew Healy, really important player for Wales. Now, their second yellow card of the game. They go back down to 14 with John Cudd having come back on the pitch.
Yeah, interestingly, Wales conceded 2 penalties in their own 22, and both of them have led to a yellow card, so they're going to need to be really careful about their discipline, because the referee's laid his marker down now, and they know that he's just going to be unforgiving when it comes to discipline in the 22, particularly when England look like they're on a strong attacking platform.
Thank you.
So England still with this field position, but not yet having made it pay. Welsh defence has been up to the task, and England try to tie themselves in and go straight. Ligo is working things. Wales perhaps have worked it back on their side. England's ball going in reverse. And it's a turnover. Superb work from Wales, and these moments just building up in the memory bank for Wales, and perhaps eating away at England's self-confidence.
Yeah, interestingly, that's the second time now that England have had a line out sort of on or around their 5-metre line, and both times they've tried to set up the rolling maul, and on both occasions they've lost the ball. And so I think it's just maybe time to just put in a bit of variety and see what else they can do from that platform, because it's going to be costly soon losing territory in such a key attacking position. They'll want to have come away with more points than they have, having been camped in the Welsh half for so long now.
And Luke, are England keeping it too tight?
I'd say so, yeah. I think we've got an extra man. England have got an extra man, obviously, with the second yellow card we've just had off. As you mentioned, John Cudd's come back onto the pitch, so Wales are still at 14. It's important we make this period of the game pay and stick some points on the board, so we'll see.
Scrum. Failed more. Yeah.
Just a few shots there of the crowd that have come down here to Harlow RUFC.
Scrum. Failed more.
Not the first time, as you mentioned, Luke. England have played it, having beaten New Zealand on this patch in a thriller of a game 2 years ago.
It was much better last scrum. Thank you. Crouch! Bind! Set!
Life very different for Wales' scrum half, Sean Thomas. Having been on the front foot for so long, is now having to dig the ball out and make it clean for his fly half, and Wales don't let it go to their fly half. They keep it with the forwards. And actually, it was Garen Jones who peeled away, and they will have a penalty. Almost half an hour played here at Harlow. Wales down to 14 and shutting out England with real courage. Been camped in their own 22 for getting on for 15 minutes or so.
Thank you. Wait. Redder on the tip.
There is Kieran Price. He has, hasn't he? Great beard, great tattoos, got a barreling run as well, which we've seen.
Wish I could grow a beard like that.
Oh, look, Chin, yours is coming on. Yours is coming on. Wales go to the back and retrieved well. Big claw, it's now with Price, and Price will look to stretch things. England read the play very well. And they hem Wales back into their 22.
No. 13
Just a bit of time not playing in the shadow of their post would be nice from a Wales perspective. No shortage of ambition as Vela flicks it out the back. Opening his box of tricks, the hooker. Andrew Healy is the man off the pitch for Wales. Price. 3 England players know they need to watch him when he goes. Question is, can Wales profit from that and find the spaces that are occurring? It's good offloading in tight spaces. Now it goes to boot, but it's only rebounded into Welsh hands. Jack Priest, the Ebo Vale player there, just tidying things up, and Price will just drop it through the legs. A frustrating one from a Welsh perspective there, because they were playing themselves nicely out of a tight spot.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they'll be really pleased with the fact that they're a man down and they're retaining possession so easily, and they gained some good ground there in the last few phases. I think England will be disappointed here to have played 15 minutes against 14 men and to have not come away with any points. So, yeah, Wales will be disappointed with that handling error, but I think on the whole they'll be pleased with the pressure that they've absorbed in their own half so far, well, in the last sort of 10 minutes, especially seeing that they've been down to 14 men.
Bind! Set! Just a reset. Yeah, go. Just a reset. You guys came up. Yeah. Come on, let's have work. Step that for me, please. Yeah, that's the mark. Happy there, yeah? Yeah, to the left of it. Come on now. You okay? Just give me a nose of wipe for me.
What's that fucking working? Come on.
Thank you.
I know up here. Freeze in. Let's go. 5, come on. Get in, Jim. Right. Come down. Squeeze. 3, 6.
Crawl!
Squeeze again. Hold the weight. Yeah.
Bind! Set!
2, 3, 4.
Well, just out of picture, England's back stretched right across the pitch here in Harlow. Platform is good again. Ligo presents it perfectly
through. Thank you, though.
For the captain, Danny Rowland, and here comes Dave Martin. Rowland looks to get the next wave firing, and it's Corey Beck. Welsh players pile into Beck. Delay pass, that's for the hooker, Bingham. Really nice draw and give from Danny Rowland. That's the kind of threat he offers around the base. Rowland again, now Pubel. Precious possession which England backs have had. It's mostly been their forwards. Dave Martin has made the most of possession that's come his way, and he does again. Again, the jinking of Tom Walker, prefers the open spaces, but that was smart work. Bingham.
No. Strip.
Ripped by Wales. Can they profit?
Offside. Offside.
Getting to see a little more of
offside. He's in front.
The all-court game, which Sean Fletcher's team, which is England team, are capable of playing.
Scrum call.
And it's, I suppose, testament to the respect England have given Wales, that they haven't, up until now, looked to play as wide as they have.
I think perhaps a little bit of that,
so
but also maybe a little bit of naivety.
Yep.
Playing quite simple and quite safe with the forwards. I'd like to see obviously Henry pull the strings a little bit more at the back, give some options for some electric backs on the England side. In Tom Walker, obviously Max Thorne on the right wing, who we haven't seen a lot of at all in the first half an hour. He's got a lot of gas. So it'll be good to see both wingers get their hands on the ball a little bit more.
Bind!
Danny Rowland, England's number 9, the captain, will go quickly, straight to the backs this time. Pupil goes himself, Henry Pupil, known for those snaking runs. Rowland, with his fly half on the floor, looks to the forwards and the likes of Taylor Morris. Really been a strong, forceful runner for England around the fringes in this first period as Morris. Wales will go high to the sky. It's in the sun for England. It's going to bounce awkwardly and hammered into touch. Wales get the breakout they needed. It was a perfectly weighted kick from Sean Thomas. Only as good as its follow-up, and the follow-up was fantastic.
There's a penalty against Wales there, hitting the air.
He's fine, good play.
Danny Rowland goes quickly.
No, it wasn't quite as good as it needed to be for Wales, and England back into the defensive mode. And still down to 14 men as well, Wales, for another minute or so. England with the advantage.
Knock on only.
Just a knock on.
You're good, just knocked it on.
It's a test match we're witnessing, which is so close. They are scrapping over every inch, and it's compelling for everyone around here at Harlow Rugby Club.
1 minute 18.
Yeah, what Wales are doing really well at the moment is, we talked about how dangerous England were when they were getting quick ball at the rucks. Now that they're not getting such quick ball, when it slows down, Wales are just doing really well at disrupting the ball at the rucks. They've won quite a few turnovers when England seem to either be a little bit indecisive or just seem to be not working quite hard enough off the ball to get set quickly. And as soon as that ball stays in the contact area, England seem to be risking losing it on a few occasions.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Heavy workloads for both these packs. This time it's Wales who put the creep on England. Ligo has done well to bring it away. The Exeter player. Short ball again, like Dave Martin. A typical run from him. Penalty, 30 metres out. England with options.
Yeah, Ryan Shallis over the ball there. A really dangerous player over the ball in defence.
Rowland wants to run it. Gives it to the backs. Martin draws his man, and perhaps England have a chance here on the right-hand side. Burrowing forward goes Walker. Can he get it down? England score the first try. And how they've worked so hard for it on the left-hand corner. Wave after wave they threw at Wales. But it's when they threw it wide that the gap opened up. England get the first try in the Broad Street Cup.
It's almost like we've been saying that for the best part of 37 minutes, Jack. Tom Walker really strong in contact, as you mentioned before. He likes the open space, but certainly he's got a really strong fend with ball in hand. Great work there from Dave Martin. Could have easily kept that with himself and got himself, but he's tipped that over to Tom Walker, and his power's shown there to get over for the first try of the game.
And that is the danger that England's backs do possess when they get the ball.
After the kick, probably about 2 minutes.
For younger players, it's also worth noting that when you do show that you've got players like that on the outside, it just makes those players in defence then have to think more the next time. And England have shown that they're dangerous on that right-hand side now, and it should mean that Wales stretch their defence a little bit wider. That'll either mean that there are some more holes opening up in the midfield for those players to go through, or it'll just mean that if that ball goes wide again, Wales will be slightly less confident of covering that space.
Tom Walker, who plays his club rugby for Earlsden in Coventry, are actually in the same league as Barker's Butts, my club. Yeah, delighted for him to score for England today.
Yeah, I've got a minute.
He's someone who can just set a rugby field alight, Tom Walker, with a run from deep. Saw what speed he has then. So Wales eventually conceding the try. 5 points down. Just 45 seconds or so remaining of this first half, and Morris
Advantage over!
again finds a few yards. Wales back up to the full complement. Strong run again. Scott Turner. Pubel, lovely switch in midfield. Dave Martin looking to put everything together in a smart way, England now.
Some more points before half-time will be fantastic for England here.
England just with extra zip in their play. Rowland, who made that decision to go quickly. Naturally, the play will have to slow down with Rowland on the floor.
No non-ball!
Taylor Morris. Rowland again, and now Bingham.
Advantage, knock on.
And Neil Sweeney calls a halt to proceedings. It was fast, it was slow. We've had a bit of every type of rugby. For England, not quite enough of the wide stuff, but when they did go wide, it was well executed. Tom Walker with the try that separates the two teams at half-time. England lead Wales deaf here at Harlow. And Stash, your reflections on the first half?
Yeah, I think for me, both sides show that they can play really well. I thought the set piece was going to be quite interesting to start with Wales winning the first scrum against the head, and but it's evened up pretty well, both from a set piece perspective, from the number of penalties that both teams have conceded. Wales will be disappointed with the fact that they lost 2 men for almost half of that that first half. However, they'll also take great confidence from the fact that they only conceded 5 points in that time. I think a second half could be really exciting now, with both teams having sussed each other out quite a bit, knowing where their strengths and weaknesses are, and I'm really looking forward to the second half.
Sets of players down the tunnel then, and we're going over very shortly to Joe, Luke and Stasha. A bit of analysis at half-time. Muted now. So for half-time, we have Messrs Joe Burns, Luke Cheen and Stasha Long to talk us through the action of the first period.
Well, thank you very much, Jack. Now, before the play started, I promised you an afternoon of thrilling international rugby, and had it not been for 2 plays in the end there, both sides duly delivered a 0-all first 40 minutes. I mean, what do you make of that half?
Yeah, I think Wales had the majority of the ball for the first 10-15 minutes and were camped in England's 22. I think it took until maybe gone 20 minutes until England actually made their way into the Welsh half. Probably a fair score at the moment. I think England will be quite disappointed that we haven't got any more points on the board, but some good defensive out from both sides as well.
Yeah, 2 sections of the game really there, Stash, where Wales were utterly dominant in the first 15 minutes, and then England took the stranglehold for the remaining 25. The score just, you feel, as well?
I think England will feel that there were some points left out there for them. I think at one stage there was definitely a score on out wide when Henry took the ball in under the post and got tackled. I think Wales will be really confident with their defence, having defended for 20 minutes of that half with only 14 men. For me, it comes down to decision making. So I think if the players can identify when there's those opportunities and they make the right decisions in those situations, and equally decision making at the contact area as well. When do they need to commit more numbers? When can they get that ball out quickly? I think that gives you an
How disappointed, Luke, will England be that they didn't convert those 2 opportunities when Wales were down to 14 men?
Yeah, very disappointed, but I think it does come back to what Stashy said then in terms of decision making, trying to play one-out rugby, going forward, and then maybe once we've created a bit of an overlap, utilising the backs a little bit more, and we haven't done that enough. So I think if we can do that in the second half, irrespective of whether there's 15 or 14 blokes on the pitch, I think we'll profit from it.
And equally, Stash, how buoyed will Wales be that they managed to repel that English white wave when they were at 14 men for 20 minutes of that first half?
Psychologically, that will be massive for them. I think when they got that first yellow card, particularly in the positions that they gave them away in, they would have been thinking, right, OK, we're going to concede some points here. So to have not done that, I think they will be very confident about their defence. I just hope that in the change rooms now they start talking about their attack, because we didn't see that ball go wide into those channels from either team, really, until England did, and they scored from it. So I'd like to think that Wales will continue that pressure in defence and challenge England, but I also hope that we see a little bit more of them from an attacking perspective and seeing that ball going wider from both teams.
Yeah, it's difficult to critique the Welsh effort because all they've been doing is defending. England very congested in their style of attack. Would you like to see it go wide a bit more as well?
Definitely. It's a really big pitch here in Harlow. I remember that from the game we played against New Zealand a couple of years ago, how big it is. So I think if we can utilise that, we've got some fantastic backs with some great ball handling skills. So let's move the ball wider than 13. Let's get bring Ash Phillips on the left wing and Max Thorne on the right wing into play a little bit more.
And I've got a question. Do England have a kicker on the pitch at the moment?
They do. I mean, Henry was the kicker, or is the kicker. You've got Danny Rowland, who can kick as well. You've also got Graham Sage, who is the former England captain, former England coach, has made a comeback to get onto the bench today. So we'll likely see him at some point in the second half, and he's certainly got a boot on him. So
it's just tactical, the desire to go and get tries?
I think so, yeah.
OK, awesome. Well, look, I know we're getting our money's worth from you two today. No, they're here out of goodwill. But I'm going to let you step off because I've got 2 of the England women's players, Gina Iaconello and Steph Hanratty, the captain, who featured in that curtain raiser, the first Northern Hemisphere international match ever. And heartbreak at the end. How do you reflect on that game, Gina?
Oh, obviously really disappointed. From our point of view, obviously we wanted to go out and win that game. But yeah, I think there's certainly a lot to take away and learn from. We turned the ball over a couple of times and we didn't monopolise that, and we should have done. We're a little bit disorganised, if we're being honest. So obviously we've gone over that in the changing room and hoping to come out for the game afterwards and rectify it and hopefully make it 1-1.
Steph, now last time we met, it was at Sale FC and you were playing Sale. England were playing Sale. Here, you're playing another international team, you're playing Wales. What an awesome progression for women's deaf rugby.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We are making history here today, and it's nice to be able to be playing against Wales and they've been able to field some players and hopefully broaden the deaf rugby even more with this fixture. So it's coming on leaps and bounds, to be fair, and we've just got to keep pushing it and then pushing out there to get some more players in.
Well, now both of you have been involved in the England women's deaf setup for a long time, but I can
Some longer than others.
Some longer. No. Do you know, I remember someone told me that you were retiring last time we spoke, but here you are again, Gina. So I'm sorry for trying to retire you prematurely.
I'll be honest, I wasn't retiring, I was stepping down from being a captain to hand over to Steph, because I'm actually now the chair of England Deaf Rugby, and I was just juggling too many hats. I'm the team manager as well, so I thought I'd better let somebody else have a go. But it's definitely, I mean, I'll be honest, you know, this is where England Deaf Women was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. Our first game was a game of 7s because we didn't have the number of people that we needed to play a game of 15s, and we progressed from that to 10s and then 12s and then 15s, and we're really fortunate enough that, you know, for a normal game of 15s we're in a position now where we're quite similar to the men, maybe not as much depth, but we are selecting for squads now, and obviously people are disappointed they don't make the squad. So the whole point of today's game was to try and help Wales to build their deaf side to be in the same position of us, because ultimately our goal is to be able to have a proper game of full 15s rugby against Wales in the next, hopefully, year. But realistically it does take time, and it's opportunities like this that give the teams, i.e. Wales, the exposure they need to try and attract the deaf players that they need to build their squad.
That's so exciting to hear that you've got selection headaches ultimately now for England deaf women. So tell me, how are you identifying talent and what is the pathway for young girls wanting to get involved in the game?
So we do a lot of open training sessions, so they could come in and at any age. We try and we fix our community games all around, so that we put the word out there, so that people, deaf communities, deaf societies can come in and see what it's about, get involved, get to know us all, because sometimes it's a bit daunting if you don't know anyone, or if you don't know how you're going to be able to communicate with someone else. So we put these up, and then hopefully people come round, and then we go into training, and then we build on from there, really.
We've had people like Jody. Jody came along when she was 15, and we've got some other 15, 16-year-old players, and we basically we sort of keep hold of them with it. We involve them in what we can involve them in training, but we keep hold of them, and we've got a couple of players on the pitch today that have been with us since they were 15, and they're now 18, and they're actually travelling with us to South Africa in May. So for us, it's getting word of mouth out there, and as soon as we, if someone shows any slight interest in, we're like on it straight away. Come with us, and we'll take you under our wing, and we hopefully see them progress through. And if you're getting people at 15, 16, 17, hopefully, we'll keep them for a good 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you touched on Jody there. So for people who missed at the top of the programme, we spoke of Jody Ansley, who is featuring for England Sevens women proper out in Hamilton in New Zealand, and then Sydney on the World Sevens Series. Can you just tell us a bit more about her story and how impressive it is that she's come from deaf rugby and now she's now competing on the world stage at the very, very top level? If I'm being honest,
Jody's just got success stamped on her forehead. She works really, really hard. She's been an athlete for years. She trains with her dad. I think she started off coal carrying or something competitions, and she started at rugby, and she's come up through the ranks, and she's so humble and so down to earth. She doesn't let being deaf affect anything. She's so determined. She's got ambition, and she went to Loughborough College. She got taken into the England setup from there. And we were absolutely gutted in one respect, because she's a cracking player, but eventually,
she's so humble. She messaged on Friday night to wish us good luck. She's still in our group message, and she's like, I wish I could be there, but unfortunately I've been selected to go off to represent at the Sevens. We're like, damn. Yeah.
She'd have been here if she wasn't on the plane away to New Zealand. She'd have been here, and that's the kind. She's like so lovely, and she does stay in touch with us all. And I still hope that whenever she's finished doing whatever she does with England, that she'll pop back.
Come back, Jody, come back. Well, look, but by way of inspiring some of the young girls who are out there maybe watching this broadcast, Jody is quite profoundly deaf as well, so it's not a barrier for success.
No, we have people on our team anywhere from 25% decibel loss up to profound loss. I'm personally profound loss. I lip read. We have people that sign. Just if it's something you want to do, just absolutely stick with it, and just don't be put off, because certainly within our organisation, it is like being part of a family. Everyone's there for each other, we support each other. Everyone knows the troubles and the complications it can have, and just don't be put off. Just really stick with it.
Inspiring stuff. We'll endeavour to get the details published of how you can get involved in deaf women's rugby and men's rugby, for that matter, at the end of the broadcast. Just coming back to your game though today. As I said, you just got pipped by Wales at the end there, but you've got another bite at the cherry. How do you prepare? How do you psychologically prepare with an 100-minute window in between these two games, Steph?
I was pretty irate when I came off, to be fair, because I know we could play better than that. So it is try to actually just forget about that and then take it on board. This is a brand new game, and we need to up it, really, to be fair, and we need to make sure that we're putting everything that we can in. But the girls were right. They came off, they were right. We went into the changing rooms. We highlighted what we were doing wrong and how to correct that. So hopefully we come out with now we sussed out Wales a little bit. We could change it around, and yeah.
There you go. That was the dress rehearsal. The real one comes next. Right. Well, lovely catching up with you, ladies. Thank you for the time. Good luck in the next game, and it is right back to Jack, Stash, and Luke in the commentary booth for the second half of the men.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Steph and Gina as well. The action back underway, and England with that 5-point advantage after the first period. A few changes on both sides, it seems, for the second 40. And England with the ball in their hands. Danny Rowland, the captain, who was beginning to get an armchair ride at the end of the first half. Looked to continue in that vein as well. High tackle, undoubtedly. And Luke Cheen, that one, well, we see it across the game, don't we? But it's going to get pinged every time.
It is, and it's it's for a good reason. You see here as he takes it into contact. Obviously, it's one of the smaller fellas on the pitch against one of the higher fellas, the taller fellas. Sorry, so easy to make a high tackle, but it's important that we get those tackles low.
John.
It was Kieran Price, who was a sizable fellow, so there's a tiny bit of mitigation, but he has got to go lower than that.
10 tackles. It's got to be lower.
Interesting to see Aaron Beasley make his come onto the pitch at half-time, number 20, to replace Pete Day. He's been out of action for about 18 months to 2 years now, so yeah, interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah, Jack Hunt also on in the pack, and England's pack have won this ball. Aaron Beasley with that run. Rowland, Pubel. Now popping up and getting a bit of ball is Max Thorne, making the difference and allowing the try scorer Tom Walker to cause a few more problems on that left-hand wing. Wales having to turn their mind to defence as well, and Rowland has spotted a little bit of extra space. Sharp eyes down the blind side from England's captain.
18.
Corey Beck is there in that blue scrum hat.
7.
One of the senior figures in this team, and he's taking responsibility for this attack.
Offside. You two. 18, 7, offside.
So John Higginson for Wales, the guilty party, and Beasley is again going, barrelling forward. Making his minutes count so far is Aaron Beasley, and Bingham ever ready. Rowland now out to Pubel, who will look to find runners popping up into that space.
Not on ball, leave it!
Max Thorne screaming for it here on this right wing. If they can get it out to him, he's got a little bit of space over here.
It is still the England forwards who want to keep it. And Wales who take it off them. Well, Luca, given the opportunity that you identified from here out on the wing, it's going to go down as a frustrating one.
Yeah, definitely frustrating. A great run by Rory Fisher in the midfield. But we spoke about it in the first half. We spoke about it at half-time. It's really important that England get the ball wide this half, because I think there's a lot of tries that are going to be left out there if they don't.
Yeah, it comes back to the point we were talking about in the first half as well. When England are getting slow ball at those rucks, Wales are just disrupting, and they're either getting possession and getting a turnover, or they're winning penalties like that. And I'm not quite sure why it is, because England seem to have the ball available, or they seem to have the ball there, and just don't seem to be decisive enough with what they're going to do with it. And slowing that ball down, it not only gives Wales the opposition to disrupt, Wales the opportunity to disrupt, but it also gives everybody else who's not involved time to sort themselves out and reorganise.
Rising high was Jack Priest.
Knock on. In the line-out.
Just dropped there as they went into the maul. Wales line-outs have been really good so far, quite accurate, but an opportunity here for England to get on the front foot again.
Just stand up for me, please. Stand up for me. Stand up, just wait. Okay. I need you to wait.
It'll be interesting as this second half develops how both sides use their bench. As we'll just interrupt Neil Sweeney giving his instructions.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Now Rowland may look to go here. Takes it from a safe position, then gets the backs going. Pubel spots a gap himself and sets off. This is the space he was hunting, and Pubel will look to go all the way. The fly half reaches out. 1 metre short, less than that. England so close. There comes the arm from the referee.
7.
And have England worked that over? Yellow card for Wales, whatever.
Yes.
Set up by that fantastic run from Pubel. Wales, their third yellow card of this match, down to 14 again.
Be interesting to see what the referee does here,
John,
given the position of the penalty.
the ball's up there, and he's just brought his hand back, yeah?
The guilty party, Ryan Shalish.
So Ryan actually played on the wing in our last fixture. Fantastic engine on him. Did really well over in Australia as well for the Sevens.
Time off at the minute.
So it'll be a big miss for the next 10 minutes for the Welsh team.
Those 3 yellow cards coming from the pack, asking everyone else to work that little bit harder. And we'll speak about that break from Henry Pubel in a moment, I'm sure. For now, England on alert. Great shot of where they're looking to go with Aaron Beasley. It is Beasley. Beasley scrambling.
Roll.
Danny Rowland. So many options away to his left. A full ready pack of forwards. Over the line seemingly. Just held up. Again, that Welsh rearguard defence. They may be sending more and more players to the sin bin, but it is fantastic work which they're doing to stop England.
I'm certain that the confidence that they got from the first half, where they played for at least 20 minutes with only 14 men, is just giving them more confidence here. They'll just back their systems and their processes that they can do this. It's just key now that they look to match numbers, because when you get a scrum, it's an attacking platform for England. They've got a man extra out in the open field, and with 8 players tied up in that scrum, it's just going to be a challenge for them here.
You just see that run again from Henry Pubel at 10. He's tried that a couple of times in the first half, hasn't quite worked. This time it was able to unlock the defence and get England into an attacking position.
Maybe more coming here. England with another penalty. Ligo gives it to Rowland.
You need to tap it.
And Neil Sweeney. Well, he's been around, Neil Sweeney, as a referee. He's been a player for Isha for many years, a hooker. There's not a lot he hasn't seen on the pitch, not a lot he hasn't tried himself.
I've asked for balance, and you're going through the mark before the ball. That's okay, right? Yeah.
So ball still with England.
Left of the mark is okay. Yeah.
As good as it gets in terms of field position. England with a split. 2 backs on the right-hand side and 4 on the left. It is Pubel, though, who looks to go away to the right. Rowland has to reassess matters. He's having to do that whilst 4 red shirts pile him into the ground.
18 out, release.
Jacob Unwin looks to tidy up for England. John Higginson making a nuisance of himself. Beasley looks to do the same. Rowland, Bingham, big runners which England are being able to count on. Bingham particularly just keeps arriving, and Beasley bringing that aggression and all that energy which he's stored up, watching the first period on the bench.
Tackle, release.
Corey Beck as well, becoming very familiar figures for the Welsh defence to have to hold down. One of the toughest is Scott Turner. Runs so low. Wales do well, and Pubel takes it to the line. Ball lost in contact. Perhaps not spotted by referee Neil Sweeney, and England may profit here. They can get the ball away. Beasley was lurking. And Wales come all the way through. Penalty again. Maybe something more. Rowland doesn't wait for it. Goes himself to scrum half. It's coughed forward. As dominant as England are, they are proving a little wasteful. It's the kind of scraps which Wales thrive off. And they won't mind where they are on the scoreboard, not one bit. Staying alive in this game, living on their wits at the moment. But that's the important thing, they are alive in it, and they take play out of their 22.
They are very wasteful, Jack. I think England will be really disappointed with that. Would have liked to have seen them gone a little bit wider, a little bit earlier. Some fantastic carrying from some of the forwards there. But I think we'll be frustrated to be 10 minutes into the second half now, been in such a good field position and man up, and still not been able to put any points on the board.
Stay on the field. Yeah, he's given away a penalty there. He's already had a yellow. Yeah.
And just a shot there, Luke, of England's interpreter, Chris, who's just giving some of the orders to some of the profoundly deaf players in England's pack. And there is Chris, just with the oddballs hat on.
Okay, so as long as you're not going right through the mark, I'm happy. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
He'll love that airtime.
And some of the players, you may see a little bit more of Josh Sproul's and Josh Page as well, two of the players profoundly deaf in the side, and they'll be featuring strongly from the bench, no doubt, later on. And Chris's workload may pick up a little bit as well then. Communication between the players, so important to know. You were saying in the week, Luke, just how you've got to know the level of hearing which every player around you has so you can communicate effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the same for any team in relation to their ability. So knowing your teammates' strengths and weaknesses, you know, their levels of deafness is so important.
It's Wales who just burrow through the gap, poking their head through the trees there to get the ball. Now Vela. Guy's a dynamo, is Dan Vela, and if you can stop him, you can have the ball back. But Wales now getting behind England for the first time in a while in this match. John Cudd doesn't waste time, the number 4 and captain for Wales, to get his teammates going. Wales just looking to open things up here. Alex Lynn delighted really to stop that attack before it truly developed.
England were really lucky there. There was a big overlap on the right-hand side for Wales, and if that ball had gone one more, it managed to get on the outside shoulder of that last defender. There was a big gap opening up, and would have been interesting to see where that had gone.
Who's your captain? Your name? Corey Neal.
Wales look like they're getting a bit between the teeth now after defending for a good part of this second half. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now, just as Danny Rowland comes off the pitch and Graham Sage comes on. Graham played for England a number of years ago, had some quite bad injuries, so has been assistant coach for now a number of years. So it's great to see him back out there.
Yeah, very warm welcome back to the fold, and we expect England's style of play to perhaps change slightly, Luke, with Graham on.
Somewhat, I think he's definitely got a boot on him. He's played 9 and 10, so he's, you know, from a game management perspective, you know, no different to Danny in that perspective. But I think he'll potentially get the message through Fletch from Fletch on through Graham to start playing that expansive game.
Yeah, and Page actually one of the players, again, around about 95% hearing. Sean Fletcher was telling us, and for a position like number 9, it presents its own set of challenges, but Page is so good at scanning the field, just knowing where things are about to develop.
We'll see that boot from Graham Sage now, maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, eating England players up there were Wales. It's a little bit telegraphed. Here they go, though. Disorganised defence to run at. And that was Sage getting his first contact in this international. England still just 5 points ahead, but they are looking to stretch ahead, and through their dynamo, loose head prop Scott Turner. Fantastic run from Turner. Wales spoil, they've got the ball back on their side.
Advantage over.
Clearance was from Sam Gallagher. Contest in the air. Good chase from Wales. Sage has the ball at his feet.
Brilliant take by Henry Pewell there in the air.
And here we go again with big number 5, Taylor Morris. Yardage makes so easily, it seems. Wales have struggled to handle him. Ligo, we haven't quite seen Ligo excel in the close quarters in terms of the ball in his hands. There we saw what he's about.
It's the second knock-on that Graham Sage has made since he's come on, and unfortunately it's been because there's only been one England player protecting the ball in front of him, so he's A, been under pressure, and B, he's not had kind of secure ball to be able to be picking off the ground. I love the tempo and intensity that he's trying to bring to the game, but unfortunately, yeah, not capitalising. Great run we're watching there from Scott Turner. made so much yardage, and unfortunately that's the example that we've just seen there of where an England player's made a fantastic break, just needs more options on his shoulder, so he can look to try and keep that ball alive in the first instance, but if not, just to secure that ball so that Graham Sage can do exactly what he wants to do, which is go quickly and inject a bit of pace on. And I wonder if that's maybe a message that's come off the bench.
I think so. Fletch talks, when we get together for the international camps, Fletch talks quite a lot about making sure we keep the ball secure, sealing that ball, and if we are going to be playing quick, if we can keep hold of it, it's important that we keep it secure as Tom Walker gets back onto his feet here. It'll be an important player for England this second half, so hopefully he can stay on the pitch.
I didn't see anything that was wrong. I just saw a knock on by White, that's all.
Just a little bit of lack of communication there between Graham and Henry Largo, I think it was, on the floor.
With the history between these two sides, we have a break in the action. England, of course, were they to win it, would make it 3 wins out of the last 4, which for England, who for 7 years couldn't win a match against Wales, would be quite significant. It would put that balance at the moment of power between the two nations on England's side.
Yeah, definitely. That win up in Ilkley in February 2018 was a huge one for us, as you mentioned. We hadn't won for a number of years, so but this certainly would be the first back-to-back victory. Are England able to achieve it? So we'll see how we get on here.
Yeah, back-to-back victories for Wales was something they made a great habit of in the early part of the last decade, 2014, 2015 particularly. Now it's heating up a little bit, and Neil Sweeney, the referee,
don't mind a bit of that down. Don't mind a bit of that.
Yeah, started low or yeah.
Dan Bella's always got something to say, the Welsh hooker though.
Yeah, 20.
I say that with a smile.
It's a second scrum half, a hooker sometimes, aren't they?
Definitely.
Well, Neil Sweeney, an ex-hooker himself, so sure he knows just about that. And here we go again, Walker slicing through the fullback and try score. Beautiful run. Oh, he's threatened that in parts, and we get to see it again. England with the penalty. Offside by Wales.
Great run by Tommy Walker there.
Sorry, man. I come from the side.
Showing his pace, certainly on the outside. A little bit of afters here.
4, 5 in a row.
Yeah. Mark's here.
When he spots a gap, boy, he can go.
He certainly can. He certainly can. As I said earlier in the game, he plays for a rival team of mine, Elsdon, obviously my club's Barker's Butts. We haven't seen a lot of this though at club rugby, I must add, Jack. It's been a double for Barker's this year, and I didn't hear from both Tom and Rory Fisher, who's also an Elsdon player, for a couple of weeks after both of those victories.
Your discipline as a team needs to improve.
Would you like to quote the scores in those games as well, Luke G?
I'll keep it as it is.
Yeah,
damage is done.
Club rifles, but
just seeing Tom Walker make the most of the Welsh players not able to find touch on that penalty, and it's always so difficult when you're then running and trying to chase up that kick, and you're leaving broken field effectively, and Tom Walker really capitalising on that there.
I think just on that, Stashy, I think all of England's backs have got that in the locker, and I think if we can see more of the ball in the backs hands, I think we can see a little bit more of that. Certainly as the game goes on and goes into the kind of the last quarter, I think those gaps will open up more and more. So hopefully we can see a lot more of that and those yards gained.
Yeah, no problem. They'll give it to you. Yeah, just wait.
On comes to the field Steve Moran in the colours of Wales. Of course, Luke Sheen reminding me, used to be in the colours of England as well. So what kind of reception did you give Steve Moran on the pitch, Luke?
I wouldn't maybe want to talk about it on commentary, but I'm sure we'll be warmly welcomed into the fray.
Yeah, a different kind of warm welcome, but here come England. Looking to work 5 metres from the line. Everyone piling in. It's looking very tight-knit.
Step, step, step.
Wales do shut it down, and illegally so. Penalty try. Neil Sweeney, no hesitation. England's pack tight, driving for the line, and Wales shutting it down illegally. Well, 3 yellow cards which Wales have suffered in this game, and this time the penalty try. It's the discipline which has been stifling the Welsh effort. England go 12 points to 0 ahead here in Harlow.
Didn't get a number.
England getting a good roll on here. I think it's whilst Wales had a good go in defending, it was quite obvious what was going on. I think if you're giving away penalties that close to your own try line, you always run the risk of giving away a penalty try.
And Neil Sweeney so decisive in making that decision. England will take the play and try and go over halfway.
Not 10 first, played by red. Played by red, not 10, option.
It's Josh Sprouls taking that kick there, just coming onto the pitch. So Josh is profoundly deaf. But what a fantastic player! Brilliant addition to the pitch for the England perspective. And I think that says a lot about the growth of deaf rugby. Certainly from our perspective, is that we're able to bring on players of Josh's strength in the second half, whereas previously we may have not had that strength and depth.
Yeah, Sean Fletcher very happy with the choices he's had to make this week, although they were hard in selecting the final 23. He is delighted at just how many players he has at his availability. Luke Chena, of course, the exception with us here today, normally the captain of England, lending us his thoughts alongside Stash Alon. So Page feeds the scrum. Now feeds his backs. Walker again, breaks the line, looks to find support, has to hold on. Show and go. And again, Josh Page this time. Page the scrum half, and Beasley has found some space and he needs to be well watched. He's got the ball away too, Ash Phillips. One of the England players who plays for the Army Medical Services is Phillips on his debut here in Harlow. Taylor Morris, he'll keep running all day, but Wales, well, they're so sharp on the floor.
Leave it alone.
Just every time stopping an attack, which just keeps them there, keeps them in the game.
Yeah, I think that penalty try is going to be really costly for Wales, because I think psychologically it's going to have done a lot of damage. I think we then saw the kick that then didn't go 10 at the Rex restart, kick that's just not made touch there. I think this could be a pivotal game-changing moment for England.
Ball comes forward, it's hacked on and maybe falling for Martin. Big fend from the inside centre. And we'll come back. Welsh ball, just inside England's half.
The ball might have got caught in the sunlight there for Ken Dowding. Wasn't sure whether to catch it or kick it. It's an unfortunate one there for Tom Walker. If he gets his hands on that, England probably have a couple of players over on this right-hand side.
With game plans being what they are, Luke and Stasher, with England's and the ability they have to change up the personnel, they will expect now to be looking at these last 20 minutes and really hit their straps. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Luke Nelson just come onto the left wing. He's absolutely electric. Scored a number of tries for England Deaf. So if we can get the ball out to him, I think that will be very profitable for us. But again, it all comes back to what's done up front.
Sam Gallagher from outside centre moving to scrum half, and Wales now setting off. Andrew Healy scored an important try in this fixture 12 months ago at the Arms Park.
First man, good turnover.
England have it.
And good turnover again.
Well, there we go, somewhat of a rarity in international rugby. The double turnover back on Wales' side. Just through the legs, still going to be there for Wales if they can win the ball back. Beasley is trying to slap the chains on. It's Fulham 3.
Knock on.
Disappointing there, not sure about that from the referee. I thought Aaron Beasley was really, really strong over the ball there, but it's not to be, and it's a Welsh scrum.
You've engaged on bind. All
Wales
three of
looking.
you. Yes, no problem. Yeah. I did that. Where would you like it? Would you like it in or? Is that really low? Thank you. That's okay, no problem. Yeah. Yep.
200! 200!
Crouch! Bind! Set!
So Gallagher peels away. Healy does just get it to Gallagher. The attention was from Page.
Offside.
And the effective 8 and 9 combination just doing enough to draw the penalty out of Graham Sage's eager hands.
That's it, now we go!
Yes.
60 minutes gone, I think 12-0 is still probably a little bit tight from an English perspective. We'd potentially like another score to settle the nerves a little bit. Still obviously within 2 scores for Wales, and as we've seen so many times in these internationals years gone by, 2 scores can happen quite quickly.
Important moments these for Wales. Vela finds his towering lock forward. Wales set up nicely. Looking to peel open as well. And England having to rearrange. Healy has got himself in there. Wales have gone for a second formation, and Nye Butler is involved. New man on.
20, no. Thank you, well done.
Wales peeling round again. Superb organisation from this Welsh 8. England unable to get a hand on the man at the back, and we've gone 10 metres, 12 metres. 5 metres from England's line now, Wales.
16 out.
Trying to do to England what England did to them, and doing it very well. They may go all the way here. 2 metres away, Wales peeling round. White bodies falling off. England, though, somehow pull it back on their side, and they were patient. It was a superb drive from Wales, but England just, Aaron Beasley, it looks like, getting in there again.
Let's not be patting ourselves too much on the backs there. We've just been marched backwards a good 20-odd yards. Wales have got a really good roll on there. Some really good body positions. Able to transfer the ball back to the back of the maul quite quickly.
Gents, I understand.
And the credit there, Luke, going to, who would you say?
I'd say Aaron. Yeah, Aaron's had a good impact since he's been on the pitch. He always has a point to prove when he plays. I think particularly given the fact that he's been away for a couple of years now with a couple of injuries. You know, today is going to be a massive one for him. He's had some good carries, some work well indeed as well.
And Stash for Wales, 17 minutes to go. In a great position. It's could be interesting.
Yeah, I felt after the penalty try and after the kick-off didn't go 10, I felt that Wales just appeared to be a little bit unsettled. But then winning that penalty, getting back into the English half, and then getting such an incredible rolling maul going then, which relied on the work of the players without the ball, because a couple of times you could see the ball carrier almost ended up at the front and peeling off, and it was the players behind that managed to hold him in that stopped that maul from coming to a halt or from breaking away and becoming a tackle, and that was really important. They just weren't able to carry it on as long as they might have liked to get over the line, because to me it looked like that was gonna keep rolling.
Wales turn the scrum a little, England do tidy it up of sorts.
Good contest. No, back.
And have turned it back on their side.
Going forward.
Yeah, England appear to be under quite a bit of pressure on their own scrum. Sometimes that can happen when your hooker is lifting his foot, so you've got one less point of contact on the ground when it's your put in. But yeah, Wales seem to be dominant, and particularly because they're in such a good territorial position, there's always that added incentive to try and win that ball in that position.
Don't go around him, go at him, please. Yeah.
So last 15 minutes of the first Amplifon International Series, about to approach.
If I'm that low, it's difficult for me to see upstairs. So yeah, gap and line, yeah. Yeah.
And Dan Vella knows the importance of getting this one right.
Crouch!
No pressure.
Bind! Set!
Gallagher feeds, Healy is there, he likes, and is capable of picking and going. Penalty Wales.
Sorry, it's over there. Number 1. Yep. Scrum.
It's the 4th penalty we've seen at the scrum there today. Only the first one going in favour of the Welsh, the previous 3 going in England's favour. But Wales will feel they could really capitalise here, and will feel that now's the time, if they're going to get a score, now's the time to get it, to leave them enough time to try and get another score in before the end of this match. I think if we see a score here, I think it's game on.
Well, it's back to the first 10 minutes of the match, when Wales were all over England.
Bind!
Need to be over the line now. Can Wales get it back? Just enough. They're going to have a penalty, and Neil Sweeney may be thinking about cards. 3 Wales players, let's remember, have seen the yellow card from Sweeney's pocket.
Yeah, England need to be really careful here that they don't concede a man to the bench.
Hold on 1 second. Where's your front row? Where's your tight head?
It's quite tough to listen to the referee.
Your angle has got... Yes. Okay. Your angle has gone right in and round, and you've caused the wheel, okay? I need you to drive straight. Sorry?
He's looking low.
Okay, I'll come this side, and I'll watch. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, clock's off, don't worry.
It was maybe a little bit tough, from my opinion, on Josh Sprouls. I thought he was doing really well there, but maybe that's just my English bias.
Is loose head, height. Okay? On this side, yeah. He's watching that side.
Freeze!
Yeah. Shoulder out for me.
And we're all just getting an insight there. If you're watching Deaf Rugby for the first time, the role the interpreter can play in the complex conversations that can occur between prop and referee in these scenarios.
Bind! Set!
Healy. Much better scrum from the Welsh 8 here.
Up on the mark.
But turned.
Reset. So you haven't gone forward at all, it's just gone up. I need your players to go forward. Yeah. Okay.
Wales captain John Cudd there.
Drive
Just making
forward,
sure,
not
I think,
yeah.
that the referee knows who's causing the problems.
Yeah, thank you.
Stuff for dreams, this, isn't it? For front row forwards, scrum after scrum after scrum.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
So in the fading light here at Harlow, Wales looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time. Best position
21 out.
of the match for them.
No, out 20.
Picking and going, juggling with the ball, just about keeping it alive, and England are going to have it in their hands. Yellow card, though, against England.
Mike, get ready.
20 offside.
So Aaron Beasley, after such an energetic performance, he's going to have well, 10 minutes or so to cool off. We'll just see him again before the end of this one. But a big loss at an important time.
Definitely, as we said before, he's had a big impact since coming on at half-time. It's important that England can get this scrum right, not give away any more penalties because the pressure's on now.
Bind! Set!
Healy and Gallagher. It goes to Healy. Wales reform. Shalish. Wales go within 3. England being really tested now. Wales in urgent need of a try, and they go right through the middle. Neil Sweeney, our referee, just says time off. Well, it all just opened up. And Wales are going to have a conversation about this.
Okay, so it's hands in the ruck. Yeah. Okay, just to explain what's happened. Your player is on his knees when he's picked that ball up, so it's hands in the ruck. Okay.
Well, it's very good from our refereeing panel, just spotting the player in question. John Higginson was on his knees when he picked the ball up. You can't play rugby unless you're standing up.
Yeah, a couple of infringements there from me. First of all, you're only allowed to pick up the ball if you're at the back of the ruck, and he was very much part of the ruck and connected, so therefore that decision for me could have either been hands in the ruck or the fact that he was off his feet whilst he was playing the ball. Either way, rightly a disallowed try.
English errors there.
Oh, sorry, Luke.
English errors there of giving the ball back to Wales. Disappointing in giving the field position.
Wales go a little further into England's 22. Gallagher, one of the most experienced heads, and he's getting his hands on the ball much more now at 9 and able to control where Wales attack here in the final 10 minutes. And he goes himself, Gallagher, down the blind side, going all the way. Lovely dummy from the stand-in scrum half. All that experience. The Dunvant player goes in. What a try.
Yeah, I think it was on either side for Wales then. They had a 3-man overlap on the right-hand side. They chose to keep going around the corner and work the blind side and go the same way each time. But it was a great spot there to see that mismatch and just see that England had committed to that ruck when they should have been covering that blind side channel.
Maybe a little bit of naivety there from Max Thorne, diving in to try and counter when if it had stood where he was, he would have made it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, when you're down to 14 men, it's really important to pick your time when you're going to commit to those rucks, and especially when you're defending, unless you can see a clear opportunity to get hands on the ball. For me, when you've only got 14 players on the pitch, you cannot afford to commit to try and counter ruck, particularly not in that area of the game, because you're going to then be so vulnerable. You're already a man down in the line. So yeah, just a poor decision making there from England, which Wales rightly capitalised on.
Kick well short there from 22, Steve Moran, which will give a little bit of an extra, that extra 7 point, or that extra 2 points, sorry, that 7 point buffer now for England Def could be the difference as we move into the last 10 minutes.
Wales keeping themselves alive in the first test. Second test, by the way, to mark your cards, the early days of March. Just a 2-test series between these two nations. As has been the custom over the years, always closely fought, and Wales now with something to show after 71 minutes of hard graft.
Number 23 for England, Joe Healy, just come on to make his debut. If we can get the ball out to him, again, like Luke Nelson, electric pace out wide.
So here Wales find themselves, and they play through the middle. Gallagher at scrum half has plenty of options. Forward substitute players making themselves available in every corner, but that's going to be knocked on. And England with numbers away either side of the ruck. Chance here. Dave Martin works so hard in the centre of midfield for England. Shrugs off two tacklers. Sage.
Bit of momentum here if we can keep it going.
Tackle!
Morris is well watched. Had to be. Sage again, and now Henry Ligo. Here goes Pubel. Stepping out of a couple of tackles, wonderful running from England's Luke Nelson. So powerful and a lot of experience as well, the number 22. Not as much as this man, Graham Sage. Former England captain, of course, and back into proceedings again, wearing the England jersey. Tom Walker, England's try scorer in the first half. And Sage feeds on to Jack Hunt. That's just gone forward from England. Wales will turn it over and they will kick through. So Neil Sweeney just checking in with John Cudd.
Yeah, I'd really love to see a second wave of attack from England. Quite often when there's players in that channel, in that 9-10 channel, makes it really easy for the Welsh defence to read what's going to happen next. I'd love to see a player sort of going into that sting position where you can just do a pull-out option, almost like you see when the England team playing, and they've always got that option D. It's normally Ford or Farrell who pull into that position, because I think, especially on that last attack, just on the edge of the 22, there was so much space outside the second to last Welsh defender, who really stepped in and bitten in on that tackler, and England must have had 4 players out wider than him. I would have loved to have seen a deeper option there so that he could have come around the corner, and I think England would have scored from that position. So if that's something that the England players can work on, I think that would make them a really, really difficult team to play against.
Agreed. I think what we're probably seeing is a bit of white line fever, maybe 20 odd yards out. I think you're completely right, Stasha. If we can maybe use that pull-out option a little bit more, commit some defenders into that ball carrier or the decoy ball carrier, will create some gaps out wide. One thing that is quite important, I thought Luke Nelson's run there shows what he's got in the tank. If we can get the ball out to him a little bit more.
England with the penalty. Sage is not short of teammates who say, let's go for this, let's keep it fast. One of them is Josh Page.
Tackle, red out!
Now Graham Sage, and now Taylor Morris again. He's run so well, run through red walls, but the red wall this time comes up with the ball. And they fashion that illegally, so England again looking to Luke Jean, I guess, keep ball and just stay in this position for 5 or so minutes.
I think if I was on the pitch now, I'd be screaming to take the 3. I think that 3 could be massive, as we see the T, I believe, maybe coming onto the pitch. Or we going for we are going for the post. So yeah, I think an important part of game management there is it's a difficult decision to make for sure. But given the fact that the 7-point buffer's there, I think those extra 3 could be huge for us.
Yeah, post. Let's go, please.
Like Joe Yates, the Bonamine player, who fell foul of Neil Sweeney's keen eye.
Behind the line.
So a chance for Graham Sage to mark his return to the international stage with points.
Should be relatively straightforward.
Successful attempt from Graham Sage. He takes England out to a 15-5 lead, reasserting that 10-point gap, and England's looking a little prettier now with under 5 minutes to play.
Important we manage this game accordingly now, and if we can get Wales on the back foot, back in their own half.
I think it's really important for teams to consider that when you've scored, you're then at your most vulnerable. So for me, it's about securing possession here. Wales will be looking to try and regain possession because they know they've not got left in the game, and they need that possession. So for me, it's going to be really key that England secure this ball and then look after it, or go back into Wales's half and start putting them under pressure again.
So Wales again, too short for their runners. England have a couple of occasions now profited from Welsh errors from kickoff, and that's at an important time.
Reece Bingham back into the fold as Josh Page limps off. Disappointing for Josh.
Well, England back up to the full complement as well. Aaron Beasley makes it 15 aside again.
You have to hold your balance as a 3. I need you guys to go forward and not step back. Yes?
It's been the contest of this one, how those forwards up front have faced each other. Yes, England have sparkled in moments in the backs, but this fight, as ever in England-Wales clashes, net up front and one up front.
Lost forward.
Surely at this stage by England, but Wales with the ball, and Gallagher,
Be quiet, please.
the try scorer for Wales, breaking through with just 10 minutes to go. And that's super work on the floor again, although back on Wales' side. Gallagher. England surely not 10. Another penalty for Wales. Maybe another card, it is. Henry Pubel, the playmaker at number 10. England again down to 14. It's the 5th yellow card of the match.
It's got to be a record.
Keep going, please.
And now the backs joining the party as well. We've had a lot of forwards seeing red. Henry Pubel, number 10, out for 10, and he'll be out for the rest of the game. So Wales, who knows, in territory against 14 men. It's going to take extraordinary precision of passing for Wales and ultimate focus. But it's very possible.
It comes back to those key decision-making moments, though, doesn't it? When Luke was saying that if he'd been on the pitch, he would have been screaming for that penalty in front of the post. I think that was England's 3rd penalty from within a kicking distance. So it's at times like this, when you're now down to 14 men and you're camped in your own 22, that you're grateful that it's a 10-point gap between you and the opposition and not 7.
So Wales go long, and Beasley arches his back. Ryan Shalish. Wales set things up and keep it tight. Higginson, who thought he had scored 10 minutes ago. And Mike Roberts. Wales go short. Aggressive, determined drive from Wales. England just closing them out.
Stay there,
The red shirts gathering. Are we to have a thrilling finish if Wales can get over here? Josh Sproles is trying to hold them up. Wales so close with Captain John Cudd.
Behind the line.
Just half a metre away. For the line, and there. Neil Sweeney says no. Wales go again, and at the second placement, Wales have a second try. It's going to give them a chance in this 1 minute remaining. England-Wales encounters often so close between these two teams, and this one living up to that billing. Successful with the conversion, so 15 points to 12, England lead. So close the first time.
I think it's telling that Wales have scored both of their tries as just straight after the yellow cards as well. for England. So where England weren't able to profit with the yellow cards for the Welsh team, Wales have been able to do that to England.
So it is now just the Graham Sage penalty which separates the two. His recall into the international fold, so important now.
First man, good.
England have tried to work it back, Wales with the ball.
It's a knock on. Scrum.
So if Wales are to do it, it is going to have to be in a month's time in the second test. England do hold on, 15 points to 12. The old man of England Deaf Rugby, Graham Sage's penalty, in the end, deciding proceedings. Wales Deaf leaving it a little late to test England's 23. England do come through. And Luke Jean, we'll come to you in a sec because you're smiling so much, but Stash Along, a really full-blooded international we've just witnessed.
Yeah, it had everything, didn't it? We saw yellow cards for both sides. We saw set piece working and not working for both teams conceding penalties at the set piece, particularly in the scrum. And we saw some of the best and the bad of the decision making as well. So opportunities, I think, where England will feel that they should have had chances and didn't capitalise and didn't get those points from them. Equally, Wales probably not enjoying as much possession or as much territory as the English players, but capitalising more when they got the chance. I think it's fair to say they probably had less chances, but they turned those into points more than England did. So yeah, a really mixed game, but it gave us a bit of everything. It was certainly an exciting encounter, and you couldn't question the intensity and the effort of the players on the field. So well done to everybody who played a part today. It was a thoroughly enjoyable match to watch.
Indeed it was. And Wales, well, they never give up, do they? I mean, Luke, you know how excited England were ahead of these internationals, about the team they had out. Will they come away from this feeling a little bit disappointed, or will they come away feeling it was an England-Wales encounter and we've won?
Yeah, mixed feelings. I think for us, it's all about getting that W. We don't really care too much about how it happens. We'd much rather be on the right side of a 3-point victory than the other side. But no, at the same time, you're absolutely right. As Stash said, a lot of indecision or a lot of inability to think correctly when under pressure from our boys. So I think we did leave a lot of tries out there, and it was a lot closer than perhaps what it should have been.
Well, the dying sun here at Harlow, it's been an excellent match. 15 points to 12, and we'll be bringing up very shortly the next women's international, another game of sevens. We saw that before the first game. We can see the women deaf and England deaf and Wales deaf lining up in the tunnel as the Welsh team deservedly take some backslaps from their English counterparts. Well, it's wonderful scenes that we're seeing here in Harlow. There's great respect between these two famous rugby nations, and the top two, widely regarded as the top two in world deaf rugby as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think Australia, New Zealand, South Africa might have something to say about that. But no, another great game and a fantastic win for England. I'm really excited. I can see Danny's there. Dan Rowland, obviously, who's the captain today. He's kind of containing his excitement a little bit, but I'm so excited to see him lift the trophy shortly.
So there we go. Further matches coming up, further analysis as well, coming very shortly here from Harlow Rugby Club.
Well, England survive a late Welsh wave and come out victorious, 15-12. They retain the Broad Street Cup. And scenes of celebration in the background here at Harlow RUFC. Now, Luke, an England win, but for large parts of that game, it didn't feel like a 15-12 nail biter.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of possession, and we weren't able to kind of put the points on the board, particularly back end of that first half and the first part of the second half. I think we'll be quite disappointed that we only scored 15 points. We should have probably gone wider a lot sooner than we did. I think we saw that when we did that, we got some ground. So yeah, disappointing, but a win's a win. We're going away here. We're going away from here. Sorry, should I say, with a win, and that's the most important thing for us.
Is that an element of rustiness and new combinations, new players coming into the squad because you don't get to train as often as you'd like together?
Yeah, I think so, but I think the same could be said about the Welsh team. So I think the indecisiveness is potentially to do with some of the new combinations, but ultimately we've won. So that'll be kind of not necessarily swept under the carpet, but today will be all about enjoying this victory.
Well, let's talk about the Welsh effort. Now, sadly, we don't have the luxury of possession and territory stats, but if you were to dice the game up into quarters, the first quarter, all red, and then it was one white wave that really flooded the pitch for the game, apart from when Wales got their 2 tries and they really gave England a scare.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned it on commentary. I think it was quite telling that but England weren't able to make use of their extra man when the Welsh had the yellow cards, whereas Wales were able to do that. So quite lucky in that sense. But certainly the first quarter of the game was all about Wales, and they weren't able to put those points on the board. But thankfully we were in the second, third, and it was quite close towards the end there. But I think that penalty made the difference.
And we must touch on discipline. 5 yellow cards, 2 for England, 3 for Wales. Both sides have got to work on that, but particularly the men in red when it comes to the return fixture on the 7th of March.
Yeah, for sure. I think these games are always very, very tight, and they can be decided by the tightest of margins. So to have those games, that amount of yellow cards is quite unheard of in these fixtures, despite obviously the tough rivalry. But yeah, I think both teams will look at their discipline as something to improve on for the game in March.
Okay. Well, the women's game is just kicking off in the background, the 3rd instalment of our day's rugby. And I'm actually going to jump on the commentary and give Jack Zorob's voice rest. So I'm just going to hop across and we'll see you on the pitch. So Wales with possession in this second leg of a 2-game series across the day between Wales and England. Wales triumphing in the last moments, the very last moments in the first match, coming away 12-5 victors. And here we see Wales streak down the right-hand side. Plenty of gas down that right flank. A high tackle called by the referee. Goes quickly. England are napping, and Wales will be in for the first score of this second and potentially decisive leg. Well, that was all speed from the young Welsh Flyers. Speed down the right flank from Melda Lewis. And speed of thought as well. No sooner the penalty, the arm raised, put the ball on the floor, a tap of the foot, and hit the pedal to leave English defenders in her wake. England caught napping at the start. Remember, they've had nearly 100 minutes, I guess, since their first game. Utterly exhausted at the end. You saw white jerseys strewn across the field. Such was the defensive effort they had to put in. Remember, England, the World Sevens champions in 2018 in deaf rugby circles. And Wales looking to really spring an upset in this first international fixture in the Northern Hemisphere between women's deaf sides, as we see the captain Steph Hanratty make a burst down the right, steps inside on the left, has she got the wheels to escape the defenders? It looks like it. No, she tracks back, gives the ball inside. Oh, what handling from the English. Bex Francis, Johnny on the spot, lurking on the left shoulder, and that was sensational support play. And an easy finish for Bex Francis, but she'd done all the hard work, staying up with the play. The kick isn't good, but England back in the game. trailing just 5 points to 7 now.
The wheels, firstly, from Steph Hanray. They weren't bad, were they? Support was so good. Those hands, exquisite. And then supporting on the inside. Oh, Bex Francis, yeah, she'll remember that one for a long time, Joe.
Wow, what a splendid start to the game. Plenty of action to keep the fans interested here at Harlow. Wales in possession now. The ball goes to 10. They work the play down the left-hand side. Wales definitely looking sprightly when in possession, but held in the tackle, went for the crawl. The referee spotted it. Wales concede possession to England. They've scored. Every time they've got their hands on the ball so far, just that one time, admittedly. But definitely with a spring in their step when they're attacking. And they take the play up to the 10-metre line. Loads of space down the left-hand side if they can free it through the hands. And they do so into the hands of the number 10, Jenny Kingham, who offloads to her support player, Sean Mills. Sean Mills dragged down short of the 5-metre and the ball spills forward. Desperate defence from the Wales, committed defence from Wales and counter-attacking from Wales. But lassoed just when Sarah Rudd was looking to escape the 22. Scrappy period of play there. And it's a scrum to Wales.
Yeah, just how about the confidence levels of difference from the first game? Both sets of players setting out their stall, going for gaps, trying to play on the outside. Really had a difficult first half for both teams in the first game we saw earlier on today, but now after a nice little good break, must be said, the muscles must be aching, but confidence levels sky high at the moment.
Well, they've had plenty of time to stew on the first performance in the sheds. Well, no doubt in the clubhouse, admiring the intensity that the men brought in that Broad Street Cup match that we just saw. So champing at the bit to right the wrongs if you're an England player, and if you're a Wales player looking to reassert that dominance and say, that wasn't a fluke, we're going to 2-0 you.
And someone who really caught my eye in the first game, Joe, Anwen Hopkins, just come on in the shock of pink and purple hair, but what a player. And when the Wales get the ball in her hands, she is quite devastating.
Well, yes, utterly unmissable with that shock of pink hair, as you said, but she let her play do the talking predominantly in that first half, that's for sure. Pretty handy teammate to bring on with just over a minute remaining of the first half. 5-7 the score. Wales opened up down the right-hand side, but England replied almost instantly. And Wales are looking to break out of their 20, where they've been manacled for the last couple of minutes.
Such good defence from Steph Hanratty as well, showing what she's about.
Wales finding yards hard to come by. They've got an overlap on the left if they can free the hands. That's lovely. And here we go. Great defence from Hanratty again. Not willing to let anyone get away. Looks like she's picked up an injury in the process, but she's battling on the captain. Some pinball off the shins of both sides, sees the ball fly into touch, and there'll be a line out to England, I believe. Hanratty not looking in a good way.
But Joe, you know, Bex Francis just sensing a second there. Her eyes lit up, racing onto it. Didn't feature in that first game, didn't feature all that strongly, but my goodness, she's England's standout player in the second game.
Well, sad to see the captain, Hanratty, leave the field. She was the instigator of that Bex Francis try, the break down the right-hand side, the step inside. I thought she was going to go all the way. But a wise old head found support on the inside that eventually led to the Francis try. She goes and makes some hard yards now. England in the kill zone. Looking to pull the trigger out left. Jenny Kingham just dragged down and holds on. That beat too long on the floor. Penalty to Wales, they go quickly. They're looking to exploit that right-hand side once more. But Sian Mills up to the toss. Sian Mills, that courageous chase back right at the end of the first game. She had some jelly babies, some Jaffa cakes, and she's back for more, but so are Wales on the break, on the charge, up to the halfway. There's a white jersey in pursuit. She gets her. But Wales, they have space. They have territory. They've got wheels. They've got ambition, a ball inside, and it's good into the hands of Sarah Rudd. Hands aloft from the creator, who immediately indicates she wants to be substituted, but Sarah Rudd showing that instinctive support play that we saw from England's Bex Francis for their try. Rudd crashes over, and Wales with a healthy lead going into half-time now.
Oh, you gotta love it for Wales, such ambition, and they don't mind offloading after contact, just hurling the ball. It's not 50-50, it's sort of a 90-10, but they're landing at the moment.
Well, that's one thing that's stuck out, as we see here. Here it is, the turn of pace, fancies it on the outside, gets away from her first marker, but that awareness, she was already looking for the support. She didn't wait to be hit and then fling it. And why wouldn't she be looking? Because she didn't just have Sarah Rudd, she had Ella Rowlands on her shoulder. Either one of those could have scored, and Wales deserving of their lead at the break.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. And Wales looking to go 2 from 2 here. Let's remember that. They won the first game. For 80 minutes, they've watched England men just in the end finish ahead of Wales men in the 15-a-side game. But this to go 2-0, and that'll be against the world champions, let's remember, from 2018 in Sydney, England. So, yes, this is Wales up and looking to give the English a bloody nose.
Well, it really is some performance from Wales, because back in 2018, for many, there were two teams in it, Australia and England. England prevailing, England lifting the trophy. So England absolutely bang on favourites today coming into this game, but Wales have been, well, they haven't just been their match, they've bettered them in many aspects, and England have got a lot to do in this final 7 minutes if they're going to salvage a 2-game series draw.
It's interesting to see the traits that both the men's 15-a-side team have. If you're not bang on the money with your support and rucking over to secure the ball, Wales are going to snaffle it on the floor, and they've done that so many times.
Well, the contact area has been ferocious, hasn't it? The competition at the breakdown, the tackling, it's very never say die as well. We've seen a number of breaks from players, but they've been reeled in by an unwillingness to ever give up, which is the name of the game when you're playing sevens, and international sevens at that.
And Joe, just our cameras on Bex Francis there. I think she's still got something to say in this game. Smile on her face, playing great rugby in the evening now here in Harlow with the floodlights on. It's going to be a good 7 minutes.
Yes, the light dimming, the temperature dropping, but our appetite for international rugby not quite yet sated, and neither Melda Lewis's appetite for tries. That's her second of the game, that's Wales's third, and it's a long old way back for England now.
God, they've got some medicine about them, haven't they, Wales? Straight into the English. Yeah, great pace from Lois, but look at this chase, just a desire, hunger. Great on the tackle, over the ball. We talked about that at half-time, and then it's the tackler, the chaser, who's just going to pick it up, Lois.
As he said, how about that? Made the tackle, and then up, ready for action for the turnover and score. Valiant effort from Francis, but she couldn't stop her. Wales with the scoreboard, the clock on their side now. England have to do something in the next few minutes. Just 6 remaining. And they start with one of their go-to players, Sean Mills, who offloads England. This is good progress. Up to the 10. A pick and go carry through the middle, sucks in the defence. They can get it down. There's acres of space down the right flank, and that's where they go. Good hands from England, and into the hands of Mills. She's gonna get her try, is she? No. But once again, the support, impeccable from Sean Watson. Tired bodies out there, but Watson staying in the fight, staying on Mills' shoulder, and England staying in this game.
Well, here we go, Joe. This is building. England doing to Wales exactly what Wales did to them. The hands are superb here.
Lovely, getting both hands through the tackle, freeing them up. She knew she had her teammates outside of her. I thought Mills was gonna go all the way, but fortunately Watson was the safety net on the right shoulder, lurking ominously and doing the business when the ball came to her hands.
Yeah, endeavour for just staying up in support. Gets a try. Here, beautiful pitch at Harlow. Bar still stocked, and everyone who was here for the men's game staying on to watch this one. Players as well, England and Wales players lining up. Here comes Hopkins.
Yes, England thread a tricky one along the floor down the middle, but Hopkins up to the task. Makes the initial break, and Wales, with really their star player in this game so far, dodging, weaving, Lois finds Hopkins. They're a real gruesome twosome at the moment for the girls in white. Penalty Wales. This will suit them. They tap and go. Not looking to run down the clock by any stretch of the imagination. Melda Lewis on a hat-trick. We've got an injury.
Yeah, one of the England players is down, and attention quick to her, but just loving the fact, Joe, that the Welsh players are here supporting their team. They've just lost against England. Doesn't get more gutting than that, and here they are. Sam Gallagher leading the way, number 13. He had a good game for Wales and just roaring on the Welsh here.
Just reflecting on that men's game that you called Jack, what do Wales take from that? Because they were just under the hammer for such a large part of the game, yet they only lost by 3 points. Do you come away feeling optimistic maybe as you head to the Dragons Centre of Excellence for the return fixture in March?
I think they take what Wales always take from their playing, that they are, as a nation, as a rugby nation, probably a little bit tougher. They just take it that mentally. They've just got it, and so many times where England were piling on the line, Wales will come up with the ball, and we see it at the men's elite level as well. We see it sometimes on the Sevens circuit as well. They've just got an ability to raise their game against England and soak up a lot of heavy hits and come back with more. And they only lost by 3 points. A lot of people here were thinking England may be running away with that men's game. Not a bit of it. Superb mentality and application.
Well, certainly if you were going to clip a highlights reel of the match, it would reflect very well on England, other than their lack of clinicism. And that's certainly going to be something that Sean Fletcher's going to address in the month and a half break.
Yeah, and he won't like it that Wales were able to stifle his team so often. You know, he's someone who's looking to deliver the same programme for the women's game as is in existence right now for the men's England deaf team. So looking forward to seeing what that takes the form of in coming years. Just time off still while England receiving attention on the far side.
Well, good news, Sean Mills is up and looking like she may even continue playing. They're calling for her to be substituted. She's livid, isn't she? She is livid. She wants to play every minute. That's her commitment to the jersey.
Just please don't take me off, coach. Well, she's up and about. That's very good to see, and Wales will also be pleased to see that pace, that packet of pace that she is, just leaving the field. Sad end, but hopefully she's okay for her club duties and England duties coming up.
So Wales with 3.5 minutes remaining and a 7-point cushion attack from the penalty, but carried into touch. Hopkins managed over the lateral whitewash. And England with a platform to attack from the line out.
Yeah, I'm enjoying your geometry, Joe. And England with this line out. It's going to be Kingham in the number 10 jersey. Goes up, looks like. Jenny Kingham.
It's not clean, but England come away with it. Difficult pass for the first receiver from England. Frosty fingertips out there, I imagine, especially after that injury break. The temperature dropping. I mean, the mercury is plummeting at a rate of knots here in Harlow now. It's been a glorious day, but the evening is setting in.
You got to feel for referee as well, Catherine Ritchie. She was in the first game. She had to wait. You know, being a referee, it's very energetic. It's not quite like playing, and the physical blood doesn't pump as much. She's had to stay warm and officiate, but she's done a really good job, Catherine Ritchie, and it's been a very fair game.
A disrupted second half after the pyrotechnics of the first means Wales still lead by 7. England searching for an answer, and that counter-rucking will go a long way to finding it. You see Sarah Harper now take the play up the middle. Wales are keeping it quite tight. Still willing to play their offload game. They probe down the right-hand side. England's defence standing resolute. One out rugby from the Welsh women. They're just happy to keep possession. They've got the lead already. They don't have to answer many questions. If they can keep in attack, it's England who need to turn the ball over. England who need to make the transition ball count. That's if it comes, because it's a knock-on from the girls in white. A Wales scrum winding down the clock. We enter into the final minute now. And can Wales keep possession, or maybe even burnish their scoreline to make it more convincing?
Yeah, good possession from Wales, Joe.
Well, lost in the tackle, fly hacked through, no advantage to England, so they'll have one last attack from the scrum. A draw, the best they can muster, but a draw that'll taste pretty sweet, I imagine, if they can get across the line. And the closer to the poles, the better, I'd say, Jack.
Yeah, I think it's good to see Molly Hustle on as well. Not sure whether she got many minutes in the first game. She's on at scrum half.
Molly Hustle, I remember putting in an unbelievable individual performance last year against Sale Women FC. Really one of the standouts. Maybe the smallest on the pitch, but boy, she punches well above her weight. Playing back row that day. Scrum half today. And that's good service from the base. England choose to carry, but spilt in the tackle. Is it their last opportunity? Wales look to add to the scoreline. Can they get their fourth of the game to penalty? They tap and go. Sarah Harper, once again, ball under the arm. Can they find the space out wide? Not just yet, because England are biting back. There she is, Hustle. A terrier in the defensive line. England have to resist the temptation of picking the ball up, but a hand had already come in. The referee awards a penalty. Do Wales know that time is up? They're happy to go again. Harper kicks through. It's a foot race. Ella Rowlands is in pursuit. Who's going to get there first? It spills out the back. England have it. What drama at the end. They've got 98 meters to go. But the thing is, they've got the ball. They carry. Big fend. Offload. Here we go. There's space down the left-hand side. It's in Jenny King's hands. Tackled. Offload to Molly Hustle, who loses possession. And that is the last of the action. Full-blooded to the end, as we've seen from the women all day and the men just before. But it's not enough for the 2018 World Champions. Congratulations to Wales, Jack. Victors 17 points to 10.
Yeah, so impressed from this Welsh squad. Just done marvellously, just taking it to England and making sure that they play to their game, using the close skill sets which they got. 10-17 that they've won, 17-10 I should say, to go with their 12-5 victory in the first game. And yeah, that's comprehensive. Come to Harlow, come away with the victory, and something to really take back and show also to everyone else in Wales from the deaf rugby community. Come play sevens, make it into a 15s team as well. And that is the intention for both nations, to have those concurrent squads similar, the men's team and the women's team, having the same type of fixtures, the same access and the same opportunity. So that'll all be to come, but for here in Harlow, Wales deaf women against England deaf women, 17-10 in the final game of the day. Concludes 3 matches which we've seen, and we're delighted to have had your attention and interest across the day. So thank you very much for joining wherever you've been watching. And we're just going to have a final wrap-up from Joe, who has found a little vantage point to summarise the day's events for us.
Well, there you have it. Thank you very much, Jack Zora. A good bit of fun with you on comms there for that thrilling game between Wales deaf women and England deaf women. That was the final course of our Feast of International Deaf Rugby today. Wales a 2-0 series victory over England in the sevens. An international first up here in the Northern Hemisphere. The first international women's deaf game of all time in the Northern Hemisphere. And we are going to, well, yes, we are going to catch up with the England coach, Sean Fletcher. Sean, I nearly lost my way there. I saw people getting excited behind the camera, but that's because you were in the house. The winning coach of the Broad Street Cup today. 15-12, a bit of a tight one, Sean.
Yeah. You know, you got to take your credit. You got to take your hat off to Wales. They bought a damn sight more than I expected them to. They knew the game they wanted to play, and they drew us into that arm wrestle again like they did at Cardiff a couple of years ago, and they just dragged us into it, and we went there. But I think a little bit of class showed at the end, and we showed what we could do.
You said to me before the game that you felt that this was the best international deaf side that you've assembled in your time. Do you think it's a case of getting to know each other and settling into combinations, maybe a few nerves creeping in as well, the victory not being as emphatic as you would have liked?
Yeah, no, you always want more, you always want it to be comfortable, you know, but then when you actually look at the game and how it was played, it's what the sport's all about. But yeah, we've got a really strong squad. We're a team, and it's a great group of players. They believe in what we're doing, and I think that did stand the test of time towards the end of that game. I think we held it together and we held our nerve, but yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think the nerves got the better of us in the first half. You know, there were 9 points to be kicked over. There were 2 try-scoring opportunities that we missed. So yeah, you know, let's put it down to nerves. But hey-oh, here we are, and we beat Wales. So you know, we'll just smile our way through it and take what we can out of the game.
I don't think any English man's ever going to begrudge a victory over Wales in any fashion. But I'd just like to mention the kicking, because in the first half you had a number of opportunities to go for the poles, but you chose to go for the corner. Is that a strategy that you've employed throughout the side? Is that going to be in the DNA of England deaf rugby?
No. I think that's where the nerves came. If you actually look at the game, they had 2 in the sin bin. They were struggling. They were losing those players for the high tackles and the persistent penalties. And you know, I think we were probably a bit naive there. We should have slotted some penalties, just get 3, 6, 9 points ahead, and then try and squeeze them out. So yeah, I think, you know, we've beat Wales.
Well, you mentioned the ill discipline, and it's certainly a game typified by yellow cards. 5 in the match, 2 for England, 3 for Wales. That's something that clearly both teams are going to work on, but you're quite disappointed by that?
No. And I think you've got to, when you talk about, we talked about aggression, we talked before the game, didn't we? We talked about aggression and being physical. it's a physical game. Do you know what I mean? The rules have gone now that anything near that shoulder area, you're getting pinged, and you know the lads are passionate. They're doing the best. They're playing for the country, and penalties are penalties nowadays. You know, they didn't go out there to do those high tackles. They didn't go out there to injure anyone. Neither did we, and I think that's just a part of the game now. Anything above that, chest height, and you're lucky to go in the bin, aren't you?
Just a bit of good old-fashioned passion for the jersey.
Yeah, that's where it goes, isn't it?
OK, let's talk about the Broad Street Cup as a whole, because you've got a return fixture on the 7th of March over in Wales. However, I understand you're looking to add a third fixture next year and make it a 3-game series, potentially going over to Ireland. Yeah,
there's some great work going on with Dave Cobner at Wales, and we're trying to do some work with Wooden Spoon. We're trying to push to get that third, because what we'd like to do is play 3 fixtures. So it's not about the win on one day, it's over 3 test matches over each year. If we can get Ireland, that's to link in with IMAS over there, which is the Mixed Ability World Cup. So if we can get some funding, that's our aim. We want to go over there and take deaf rugby to Ireland and try and help them grow again. They used to have a deaf side, and they've just not got the numbers at the moment, so they need a bit of momentum moving forward, and we're in agreement with Wales. That's what we want to do.
So England Deaf Rugby and, well, Wales Deaf Rugby in a good place, moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of the Southern Hemisphere watching that game today, and whichever way you look at it, yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, we've won. We've been on the other end of a defeat. But, you know, Southern Hemisphere sides have got to stand up and look at what we're doing, and that was as good as any Saturday high-level league game in this country. The passion was there, the physicality was there. There were some errors, there was some great play. You know, it's a great game of rugby.
Awesome, right. I think that you need to get in there and start celebrating. So thanks very much for joining us, and congratulations on the victory. And I would say that that about wraps up our International Deaf Rugby offering for the day. We've served up 3 courses in our feast today. The women's sevens, followed by the men's and the women's sevens, just to cap it off. Wales won that day series 2-0. The first time International Deaf Rugby has been hosted in the Northern Hemisphere. And as you just heard from the coach there, England retained the Broad Street Cup 15 points to 12 over a dogged Wales. But they will be in the kitchen trying to cook up some revenge, which is going to be due on the 7th of March at Newport Gwent Dragons Centre of Excellence. We'll hopefully be broadcasting that for you then. But until then, thank you for joining us here on the BBC, and good night.